wanted to change this. Mic volume. I can turn that up now. Woohoo! Golly, this is exciting. Oh, nice. Hi. Hey, everybody. Hi from Veracruz, Mexico. How exciting. I just actually bought, let me take my glasses off. Everything looks dark today. I think it's me. Me that looks dark. I just bought a painted cowboy hat from Mexico. I don't know where it was, but we had a motorcycle rally here in Tallahassee. It was called the Rally at Tally, and I've been there for the last 4 days volunteering. My friend is the organizer, and so I got to bartend. No one ever lets me bartend. I don't know why. All you're doing is cracking beers, but no one ever lets me do it. So she let me do it, and it was very much fun, and I've been there for 4 full days, and so I had to work today. So I came into work, opened my mail, and I got a package, which I'm not going to lie, kind of made me nervous. A little nervous. Considering the spermatozoa glitter bomb I got from somebody. Be a little bit more cautious even than before. So, hey, everyone, this is nice. Yeah, live. So I've been waiting for a transcript from the Adelson trial, from Charlie's trial. And the jury, I shouldn't laugh, but I read some of these questions in the, is it voir dire? And then the answers and how people try to get out of jury. And it just kind of makes me giggle. So I'm not laughing at the jury, but I'm certainly laughing at their answers when they're trying to get out of jury duty. So I think very few people want to be on jury duty as much as I do. But I do. And now I wouldn't want to be on Chad Daybell's for 8 to 10 weeks. That's a little ridiculous. Something that could clearly be done in 3 to 4 days is like, no, that's nuts. So hello from Tallahassee. It is beautiful here. Absolutely beautiful. We had horrific rain Wednesday into Thursday. So much rain. Our area of the county got 14.5 inches of rain in one night. And I have a brand new roof, like a week old, and it leaked. So I've been dealing with that. The plumbing vent, which is the pipe vent, leaked. I mean, water was everywhere in my bathroom and the bedroom and the carpet. So I had to clean that up. And then I walked out yesterday and I'm seeing all the granules off the shingles in my driveway. So I have to deal with that tomorrow. So that's why I haven't been on very much, because I was at the bike rally and then I have a roof leak, even though it's brand new. Good news is I didn't hire them. So when your insurance company forces you to use their roofer, then the insurance company is responsible for any issues, not me. So that's good. So hello, I just want to say hi to everybody like it's Romper Room. I'm sorry, my eyes are like swollen. I'm so tired. I'm really tired. And I've never really thought I had hay fever, but after the last couple of days, I really think I do. So hello, everyone. Turned on the iPad just at the right time. I know it's beautiful out. I didn't expect anybody to come on at all, which I don't know what it's like where you live, but here it's about 75 and sunny, and there's a breeze, and it's spring, which is my favorite time in Tallahassee. It's just absolutely beautiful. Hello from Belgium. Wow. Nice. Now, is it cold in Belgium, Rainbow? Is it chillier? I mean, I only, so what would that be like? So I learned it's double it and add 30. So if it's about 77 here, so you take away 47, so it's about 22 Celsius, maybe like that. It is a gorgeous day in Tallahassee. It really is. Upstate South Carolina, the rain took away most of the pollen. Yeah, she should be outside, but stay with me. We had 14 and a half inches of rain. I mean, we had a lot of rain. I've had my dog Roscoe for a little over a year and a half. I think just did a year and a half, and he literally went crazy the entire night. I felt so bad for him. I didn't hire them. I didn't, though. I didn't hire the roofer. So I had a clause in my insurance policy, which I didn't know because I'm not an insurance agent. It's called the right to repair. And so with a failed roof, which I had a failed roof, I guess January somewhere, it's called a right to repair. So once you make the claim, if the roofer wants to fix it, I mean, if the insurance company wants to fix it, which they did, they get to pick who. And I was not happy about it. I tried to fight it. There's no case law to help me fight it. All the case law is you paid for the insurance, you have to follow their rules. So it's called a right to repair. So check your homeowner's policy and see what yours says. And they came out. It's called Southern Safe Construction. And leaked bad. Luckily, it only leaked through the plumbing vent, which likely means the 10 guys on my roof at the same time, because there were 10, did not put enough tar around the vent, around the shingles to seal it. And so it just flooded. And my carpet's still wet. So I have to call the insurance company on Monday and talk to them about it. And then when I drove out, I was leaving my husband backed out of his car out of the driveway and saw all the granules from the shingles, which we changed colors. So this was called Black Shadow. So it's black and gray. And mine was a tan. And so my shingles, it's not my shingles. And then there's pieces of shingle missing. I don't know. But I'm not going to blame the roofer yet because it was torrential. Absolutely torrential. So we'll see what they're going to do about my carpet and my leak. The roofer came and put a tarp. It's so attractive. A tarp around the plumbing vent. So hopefully that helps. But we haven't had, I was close when I said 20. That little formula works. Because Miss Wee Lassie said, whatever the Celsius is, you double it and add 30, and it's kind of approximate. I was like, fair play. Sounds good. So I bet it's beautiful there. But on what basis are you making the claim just to be repaired? Because my roof shingles were on my yard. So that was my basis for a failed roof. The roof was 15 years old, and we had a really bad storm, kind of like this one in, I think it was late January. I'm not quite sure the date. And it was called Finn. So it was a named storm, and it was really windy. And so that was the basis of my claim, that I had shingles lying, and then they send an inspector out. So the roofer subcontracted with a home inspector out of Panama City, and he gets on my roof. I was there, and he's like, yep, your roof has failed. The granules from the shingles the grit was gone. He said it was just really windy. So before they put this new roof on with a claim, I had my trees trimmed, which I shared with you all. And it was still so windy. It was just so windy. I'm glad I had the trees trimmed, though, for sure. Prepared after and was done by insurance the first time, probably right. I don't know what that. I'm not quite sure. All I know is the insurance paid the claim. They hired the roofers because we had a right to repair, which doesn't mean I have the right to repair. It means the insurance company has the right to repair. And they hired the guys. They came up from Tampa. It's called Southern Safe Construction. They were nice people. I didn't get to speak English to them. There was no English, so I had to use Google Translate. But they were very nice, very respectful, cleaned up their stuff. They just missed. And so I have water everywhere. I mean, like a lot. So you have USAA got a new roof this past summer after they approved due to hailstorm. Everyone in your neighborhood got a new roof. Our new roof leaked on day 5, leaked in the fan over the range. I wonder why. It must have been the same idea. There must have been a vent that they didn't seal up. Had to be an act of God. Well, it wasn't an act of human. So yeah. Nice to see everybody. Nice to see you, Debbie. Sorry about the water. I know. And the reason why it was like, did my dog? And then I'm like, no, my dog. My dog's 8 pounds. My dog's a little. And then I was like, oh, there's roof particles in the water. Cheers. That is policy language. To your right, their duty. Haha. But that's enough insurance talk for me. Well, thank you, Giovanni, because you make me think. I appreciate it. So before we talked about, I wanted to do this. Before we talk about, I don't know if she's on, but I got a gift from a fan. And if you remember from like, I don't know, a week and a half ago, it's been a while since I've been on, someone was kind enough to send me a glitter bomb full of sperm-shaped confetti and glitter. It was super cute. And so I got this package in the mail. Let me go. It's from, it says UP Superior Smiles. Maybe she sent me some. And it's from Sault Ste. Marie, Minnesota. And she sent it to my office, which is super nice. I hope it's not. It still makes me laugh, though. I hope it's not, but we're going to be in this together. And if I'm embarrassed, I'm embarrassed. So it is what it is. But I'm going to open from the bottom because, my heavens, the tape on this is severe. But it doesn't sound like I'm going to break something by turning it upside down. So I'm going to open it from the bottom because I tried to crack the tape and I couldn't. So I have to clean as I go, which is why sperm glitter was a mess. Oh, it's potato chips. Oh my. Portuguese chicken potato chips. I love it. That's nice. This is a nice gift. A 100% pure maple syrup. Nice. That's a thing. Oh, here's a note. A note. Great. I got to put my glasses back on. Sorry about my nails. I got to get them redone this week. Oh, hi, Patty. It's from Linda. You asked about chicken flavored potato chips, so I thought I would send you some from Canada. I'm an American living in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Husband is Canadian. However, I work across the river in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. We're very northern, stop on I-75. Just 1 second. And I love your channel and look forward to all the Adelsons. Just 1 second. Someone's at my door. Can I help you?
I was trying to see if anyone had a gas can.
I don't.
We ran out of gas trying to get to the gas station.
So,
And we're like stuck on this field.
oh my heavens.
Yeah. The lady in the right car said that she thought we were going to move, but I was trying to tell her that we ran out of gas.
No, I don't. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
But I would ask them.
Oh, I did. He said that.
Okay. Well, good luck. Be careful. Bye. Sorry about that. Girl needed a gas can. She's literally parked on a hill. and a blind hill. So this sounds great. So this is from Linda. Thank you, Linda. I don't see you on here, but thank you. Very sweet. Looking forward to the Adelson trial. I know. I'm going to try one. President's Choice Portuguese chicken. Oh, it smells good. Oh my God, it's very good. I could eat the whole bag. Oh my God. It's very, very, very good. Very, very good. I'm a LaCroix, so that's kind of French, right? Not really. It was not poison, and it was delicious. So this is what it is. Linda sent me. Portuguese chicken flavored potato chips. I'm in. Hi from Scotland, Patty. Love your channel. It's cold and windy with rain. I'm so sorry because here it is lush. Absolutely beautiful day. I went to church this morning. And it's an outdoor, so he has it's at a chapel in our neighborhood. If you go to Tallahassee, it's called Southwood. I don't live there, but it's a very large, like, eat, live, play kind of neighborhood where there's a couple restaurants in there. There's state offices. The Department of Corrections has a big office back there, and there's a Catholic chapel. It's a very small church, so he does it outside. It was so beautiful today. Oh, and last night I went to a fundraiser for the church. I just started going there, and I had my first cigar. I don't have any pictures of it, but here's the label. Let's see. It was Regina Cigars. I'd never had one. I'm all about it now. I think I'm going to go get some because you don't have to inhale, and I cannot inhale. I've tried to smoke a joint. I've tried to smoke a cigarette. I'm horrible at it. I can't inhale. But I got this Regina Cigars, and it was easy because I don't inhale. So I liked it. I thought I can sit on my little porch and have a cigar. She needed a gas can because they ran out of gas pulling into the parking lot, and our office parking lot is on a slant. So she almost got hit because of where she's parked, but she was running out of gas. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, my daughter, I try to talk to her about that. She has a Ram truck like I do, so it tells you how many miles you have left in your gas, and she still waits too long. It drives me crazy. That's a grocery store from Ontario here called... it's a grocery store. Oh, right down here it says it's hot piquant. So it's hot, spicy. It wasn't really spicy, but it was... it is spicy, but it's not hot. It's delicious, actually. Very, very good. Never had them. Well, you should go try them because very good. We would have called 911 if you'd been injured by a box. I know. Well, I don't think Giovanni saw the glitter sperm, but that's what it was. Glitter sperm. I know. Hey, Moonchild, how are you? You want some of these chips? I know they're delicious. They're delicious. I never met a potato I didn't like. That's my daughter. There's a place in Harrisburg that has like a potato bar, and it's like every kind of potatoes. So it's mashed potatoes, baked potato, au gratin potato, whatever the potato is. It's amazing. It was thundering this morning, but now it's nice. Went out of town to see the grandsons. Nice for you. How many of you belong to Costco? I belong to Sam's. I don't belong to Costco. I can't deal with the parking. You got addicted to buffalo chicken chips. I think it's very similar to a buffalo chicken chip. You never had one. Well, they had this. So you had dinner, and there was like, a live auction as well as a silent auction, which I got outbid. And I didn't know till the end of the night, but it's fine. So outside, if you bought an upper level ticket, you could have a cigar and bourbon. Well, I love bourbon. So I had the bourbon and it was very good. Larceny, small batch, and then Michter's. I had 2 small shots. And I like my bourbon warm. I drink it straight. I don't put ice in it or anything. And then they were like, well, you should try a cigar. And I thought, I don't know about that. So this girl, the server, encouraged me to try it. And I did like it. And I was like, this is hot. Like, this is cool. I'm sitting there like I knew what I was doing. But the men who were doing it, my husband was with me, but the men who were, they cut the cigar, they lit the cigar for me. Like, they helped me with the cigar. So it was very nice. Hey, Cindy, another Ontario. This is so cool. They did nothing for me either, Debbie, because I couldn't inhale. Like, the whole point of a joint is to suck that down and inhale it, and I couldn't. It is an expensive habit. Well, everything's expensive. I was telling, going to the freaking Costco's expensive. I'm so happy you're in your new place. You'll have to text me some photos of your stuff. Who else said they never inhaled and smoked cigars? Well, I probably inhaled a tiny bit because I did cough a bit, but not for the most part. It's a brand's President Choice from Superstore. You've run out of gas? I don't think I've ever run out of gas. Ever. Every time I say there's someone at the door. Well, we love Aldi here. That's where I go. That's where I got my LaCroix. We get this for the office. I buy the LaCroix at Aldi. You don't belong. You used to belong to Sam's in Niagara Falls. Your father-in-law is a member. Sam's kicked you out? Oh, businesses only. Yeah, we pay for the business membership. So I do get to imbibe at the early Sam's. That's where my husband goes. Picante. Well, thank you, Giovanni. I only know American. Patty sounds like you like your bourbon neat. I do. Straight. Just a straight bourbon. Nothing added. No lime. No, I don't need anything. And I sip on it. Years ago, you were at a New Year's Eve party and the friend smoked cigars, gave me one and did not tell me I was not supposed to inhale. Oh, yeah. My lips were numb. They were numb last night. But that's it. I mean, they were a little dry. That was it. It was very nice. We had a great evening. My husband and I don't really do much out in the evenings, but I thought I'm going to go to church. I need to get out of my shell. So one of our subscribers, my subscribers, I guess, because Scott, I've invited him on, but he hasn't come on because he's on with me on Patty's Playhouse, the radio show. His name is Scott Cowart. And as real estate agents, we have a radio show here in Tallahassee. And then when I have time, I put it out as a podcast, but that's been a couple weeks. So I'm very behind in my work. And one of our subscribers and our show listeners called me about joining our office. So she's going to join our office this week. So it's really nice. That was really nice. Reach out. I met with her Friday. We talked about how the office functions in real estate. And she was pretty cool. So I'm very excited. And all because of this little YouTube channel. So it's very nice. I really like that. You're from Sault Ste. Marie? Oh, wow. Sue. Oh, okay. Thank you, Sue. I took German and it was completely useless as an adult. Absolutely. So Sue St. Marie. Thank you. This is Simba's pick the day I got him. Oh, my God. Tomorrow. Oh, bless it. 5 years old. He smoked Tiparillo's small cigars. Well, because I know nothing, I know less about Spanish and French than I do about cigars. I know nothing. But I'm going to try. This was a Sumatra wrapper Honduras. I don't know what that means. But it was very mild and went really well with bourbon. And I didn't reek of smoke when I left. Who is the Canadian? Her name is Linda. Linda was on her note. Where'd I put the note? Linda with a Y. You know I love that. On here, she's Yank Canuck. But Linda with a Y, because I'm Patty with a Y. So I always appreciate when someone uses a Y. Too bad about your roof. I don't have to pay for it, but it's certainly, we were supposed to go out of town this weekend for my husband's birthday, so that might get upended, but we'll see. Sue St. Sue, my son's friend since grade, lived there, but moving back here to Niagara. It's just all very cold to me. So everything above that Mason-Dixon line, I'm pretty much out. Charlie smoked weed. I can't wait to hear you. I don't have much. I didn't get to read it. So I'm going to share my screen. And where is it? Jury selection. There's two pieces to it. There is how shall I say it? This one is 442. And then the other one is in the 300s. So it's two separate documents because it was so large. See which is better. Okay, I'll do that. I'm very glad you are Patty and not Patty. It's a common name. Yes, it is. My name is Patricia, and like every other Patricia. I met one Patricia Jane once. And I was like, oh, that's super cute. Patricia Jane. And then I was like, Mom, why didn't you name me Patricia Jane? She didn't want to hear about it. She liked my name and did not want to hear about how much I hated it growing up. Because everything rhymed with Patty. You know, it was like Patty, Fatty. It was horrid. Horrid. So anyway, this is where I got stuck. Like this is where I started laughing already. And I'm not laughing at the juror. I'm laughing with the juror. So this one is the court. Only if you're 7. Let's go to the first. The court, everyone be seated. And then Stephen Everett, the judge, starts introducing himself. Let me make this larger so I can look at it. Won't go larger. This won't get any bigger now. I got it as large as I could. So it says on July 18th, 2014, it talks about the whole situation. He introduces himself, talks about, I'm going to need to put closer eyes on all of you. And these responses, I'm going to walk down to you. If the bailiff and the clerk could come with me, this portion will probably be a bit easier. And the first thing I'm going to do is please stand and raise your hand. So he swears them in. He goes, is anyone 70 or older? And they're like, no, I'm fine. Everyone's 70 or older. Do you wish to be excused? Prospective juror says, no, I'm fine. Good for you. All right. Has anyone performed jury service in the last year? And this is too scrolly. Has anyone, and it says, I watched my grandson. He goes, well, come back to you. Let me get to the one where it's funny. Some says, I'm in school. I'm at TCC right now. Oh, they're giving out names. Again, you have the ability to be excused on these grounds. This boy was 4 years old, so he had to go. Juror Maddox. Like for cause, Your Honor, no objection, you're excused. Do you feel that you could be, here he goes. Do you feel you could not be fair and impartial as a juror? I don't think I can. Like to excuse for cause, Your Honor. Okay. Talks about independent, family was in an independent living facility. Let me see. The court, okay, I think I have a better grasp of what you're saying. She's on site there, but you're still responsible. They will not be, they They will not be, get her up, to get her a shower, to get her to, I'm in transition now, trying to get her into another facility. The other part, any other families or friends you can assist? No. Very well. I'll excuse you. Have a good day. Juror Flowers is leaving. I was on vacation. This is the one. I was first on vacation in North Carolina and didn't know I had been summoned for jury until Friday, this past Friday. How long were you on vacation? So I was unable to. I have a broken shoulder. I have a follow-up appointment with my orthopedic, and I have an annual mammogram and DEXA scan in Gainesville Thursday, and I've served. I've called for jury duty end of 21, March of 22, and now. So the court says, all right, did you actually serve? So I do serve. Hold on. No, I've been called. Well, that doesn't count. I thought it was funny. That doesn't count. Then I was bringing up jury service. Perhaps as a retired, I started getting called every week. No one's called every week. As soon as I retired. All right, are you going to be going into surgery? I don't know, because I may have to have an MRI. I'm not getting called. I could show the x-rays on my phone. I'd like to see them. My dog broke my shoulder. Did you get rid of the dog? No, I still have her. My kid hit a deer in my new car last week. I didn't get a new kid either. I'm getting a new car, though. These people are hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Still talking about chips. Oh, yeah. Has anyone heard? I always thought Trish was more. I wasn't a Trish. I didn't think I was going to be that. Did you see a 90-year-old was on the jury for the river stabbing? Not sure if they were picked as alternate, but that juror's old. But I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem. Do you guys have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with an older juror? I guess if they can, I'm going to try this again. I think if they can stay awake. I mean, don't you? I don't know. Here, I can make it bigger now. That's what he said. Talks about not being able to use their devices, obviously, but I just thought that was so funny. Like, I get called every week. You don't get called every week. No one's getting called every week. Let me go back to flowers. I want to. So I met a lady. I can't get her to come on here, but I'm working on it. But I met her, and she was on the grand jury for Donna. What do you need? What do you need to come on? I know her husband really well. And then I met her, and I was like, she's like, by the way, Patty, I was on the grand jury. I said, you were on the what? And she said, I was on the grand jury. I was like, for what? And she said, the Adelson trial. Donna. I was like, get out. This is cool. Let me go back to Kessler because I had to get it to where I could, so you could see it, not just me. But I don't know why this took forever to come out. The judge had to extend their court time for a while. Let's see. Okay. What sort? Let me go back. Please bring her in. Prospective juror Breedlove Enders can be seated again, ma'am. I cannot answer that question that you're raising, but I will ask you some additional questions, and perhaps that might clarify the issue in your mind. The attorneys will have their follow-ups as well. What source did you obtain this information from concerning your knowledge? I worked at Premier Gym, and there was a lot of gossip about it. I don't remember if it was the husband or wife that worked there or worked out there. Based on your information that you're aware of or that you know, have you formed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of Mr. Adelson? Yes. And what is that opinion? Guilty. Are you able to set aside your present knowledge, disregard, or your opinion to render a verdict that's solely based on the evidence that will be presented? Yes. Do you believe that you could be fair and impartial? Uh-huh. Is there anything that would prevent you from serving on this juror for the next 3 weeks? My sister's having a C-section and I'm supposed to watch my nephew. Are you going to be responsible for him? Yes. The attorneys may follow up based on the question. Kappelman. When the judge asked you if you could be fair and impartial, you gave a response that all understood to be affirmative, but could you say yes or no? And she says, yes, I can be fair. Okay. So can you set aside your opinions and thoughts about the evidence, whatever you thought it was before you came into the courtroom, and get all your facts from the courtroom? Uh-huh. Okay. And in regards to the nephew, is there someone else who could keep him? Not really. And how old? 12. Defense? Thank you, Your Honor. So when His Honor asked you if you had an opinion, you said yes. And when he asked you what your opinion was, you said guilty. And I appreciate your candor. I think that's what we're all here for. What led you to believe that? There was just a lot of gossip about the wife wanting to keep her kids, or she wanted to move or something, and then she hired someone to kill her husband. So it isn't a fair statement that you're walking in here today feeling Adelson is guilty. She nods. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Fair to say that Mr. Adelson would start off a little bit behind because you have the belief coming in here. I mean, I would be able to take on everything that I was given and judge that fairly, but is it fair to say it would still be in your mind? Yes. I have nothing further. Yeah, Dubin is the one answering the questions for the defense. Are you guilty? Yes. Sorry. So funny. Defense, no objection to your motion strike. Durbin, for the record, the defense moves to strike her for cause and the state concurs or doesn't object. Very efficient, Ms. Kappelman. I'm not used to this. Juror, Breedlove is excused. Judge, when you excuse someone, is it okay to just send them on their way now? You can tell them to go back down to the jury because they may be called for something else. So they could get called for another jury. That's what happened to husband of a friend of mine last week. He was dismissed, but he had to sit there and wait till all the other juries were full. He didn't get called, which was probably best because he's like me. Mr. Grable, I'm going to go through the questions with you. What do you know about the case? I was a freshman in high school, and I remember it being all over the news, but that was about it. And by the news, are you referring to the local TV stations? Yeah. All the above? Yeah. And you obtained your knowledge from all those local news. That and my parents. Yeah. Based on what you know, have you formed an opinion about Mr. Adelson's guilt or innocence? No. Can you be fair? Yes. Is there anything that could prevent you? Work. That's about it. So it didn't even occur to me that quite a few of those jurors would have been very, very young when this happened. I had not thought of that. What is the nature of your work? Gutters and construction. And is this something you may lose your position that you won't get paid? Well, I use the work truck right now because my everyday driver is in the shop. I'll allow the parties to follow up based on their questions. So if you're selected to sit, are you going to be able to get here? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try and figure it out. Okay. Will you look into that? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And will you agree to set aside whatever you learned? Yes, ma'am. Obviously, this is the trial. Yeah. Everyone just says, yeah and uh-huh. Not going to try it in the news, right? Yep. Thank you. Nothing further. Defense, how are you? Good morning. So I know you said that you were a freshman in high school. And honestly, this is the first time it's ever occurred to me how young some of these jurors would have been at the time of the murder. So I know you said that when you were a freshman in high school, you recall. Yes, sir. Tell me what you recall. I just remember it happened over in Killearn, like the Benton Hills area. That is not Killearn, but that's fine. I remember my parents being shocked because they were saying with some FSU professor, this and that and the other. And that's about it. Did you read any articles? I did not. Watch any? I just kind of heard about it and was like, whoa, that's crazy. And that was about the extent of it. Did your parents have an opinion? Yeah, they thought he was guilty. They thought who was guilty? Mr. Adelson. Yeah. Okay. And tell me a little bit about that. They talked about it. They saw it on the news. They kept seeing it on the news and they formed their own opinion, I guess. Okay. I want you to really think this through. Yes, sir. Do you, and forgive me if do you still live with your folks? I do. I'm living with my mom. Okay. Really think this through for a moment. Do you think your parents' opinion may have impacted you in a way? Possibly. Tell me a little bit about that. Yeah, I understood. We're just asking for candor. Possibly. I was really close with them, so I don't know if they thought something and persuaded me, I guess, to have the same opinion. So is it fair to say, and I take it, was your opinion a strong one? Yeah, all right. It's fair to say, Mr. Grable. And if I'm getting it wrong, you tell me. Juror, yes, sir. But is it fair to say, if you really search yourself and think it through, because your parents had such a strong opinion about the Adelson guilt, that you might walk in there thinking he might have done it? Yes, sir. Appreciate your candor. Is it also fair to say it would be difficult to lay that opinion aside? It would. Okay, I appreciate it. I have nothing further. He's going to get excused. Like, I wish I had been in there. I wish I had been in there. Hey, Fancy, how are you? How are you doing? It's just crazy. Let me go with those back. Prospective jury, not really. I remember seeing his face on the news. I didn't hear. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I don't know anything about the case. I do remember seeing his face on the news. Court, by his face. Are you referring to the deceased? No. Who are you referring to? The gentleman that's on trial. Oh, all right. What sources did you obtain from the information? Just the TV. I don't even remember when it was. So local news, cable news, or can you recall? Local news, probably. All right. Based on the information that you have formed an opinion about the guilt or innocence. No. But to me, that if you're, I don't know, I think if you're on trial for something like this, a lot of times to me, I consider them guilty. I don't know why. I just court. And this is anyone who's facing a serious charge you're referring to. Yeah. Are you capable of setting aside your present knowledge or disregarding and rendering a verdict based on what you heard in the courtroom as evidence? I think so. Do you believe you can be fair and impartial? Yes. Would you have a hardship in serving for possibly 3 weeks as a juror? I'm self-employed, so yes, I wouldn't get paid. So economically, you would have no means of income for 3 weeks. Not for myself, no. State, you may inquire further on the questions financially. Can you give us a little more? Do you have an income from another source? My husband. Is this going to break you financially? Is this going to cost you your business? I would probably lose some clients. I clean homes. Okay, and it's on a weekly basis. Do you know anybody that could cover your cleaning? Shakes heads. Okay, is that something that if you're chosen to sit on the jury, you'll be thinking about that instead? Probably. Because I would be going, okay, am I going to be able to? I would be able to catch, obviously, but you think it's something that might divert your attention from the case? It could. Okay, as far as your belief, I'm going to skip. She says, right. And I have to present the evidence as to the prosecution. So would you be completely separate? If you were selected to sit as a juror, you'd have to completely separate your belief that he must have done something to get this far. Is that something you can do? I could probably set it aside. Okay, well, the defense is going to push you a little better answer on that. Because if you're getting on a plane and the pilot goes, I think we're going to land okay, that's not going to be good. Right. So can you give us a definite answer on that if pushed a little bit? And the question again, can you set aside the instinct that he must have done something? Yeah, I don't know that I could. Okay, thank you. No further. Defense, man, they had a shit day that day, didn't they? If we can do it on consent. Okay, no questions needed. We're going to consent to the application for cause. Very well. Ms. Mayo, you may step out. This is fascinating. I missed the whole jury selection process because of work, but hopefully I'll get to make a couple of days for Donna's because this is fascinating. What do you know about the case? What do I know? I watched Dateline. I think they had a big story on it last year, okay? Some local news, just I guess, the synopsis of what they think happened to from the lawyer's point of view, the law professor's point of view. I haven't really kept up since last year's big media, okay? So your sources of information are local news and cable news. Yes. Based on the information that you know, have you formed an opinion? Somewhat, probably, yeah, more of bias. What is the opinion? Probably he's guilty. Now, they had a horrible day. They had an absolute horrible day, the defense did. This is awesome. Are you capable of setting aside your present knowledge, your opinions to disregard and render? I think so. Can you be fair and partial? Yes. And I love how each individual juror so far has been able to separate each question and answer it. They believe they can be fair and impartial, but yet when it circles back to who they'd be fair and impartial to, that's the challenge. So prospective juror, yes. Is there anything that's going to prevent you from serving on the jury for 3 weeks? I have a previous trip next weekend that I leave on Friday. Sorry, is this a vacation? We're meeting to plan my son's wedding, so it's pre-planned, so not that important. Just a little bit. First child. All right. I'll let the attorneys follow up. Is the trip flying or driving? We're flying. Okay. And what time does the flight leave? Blah, blah, blah. I appreciate your candor this morning. You watched the Dateline. Yes. That was a 2-hour special. Yeah. It aired sometime. Tell us what you remember about the Dateline special and what led you to believe Mr. Adelson is probably guilty. What doesn't help that Dubin keeps saying probably guilty, right? Every one he's had, he mentions him being guilty. He didn't say, well, probably innocent. What do I remember? Mainly just the camera footage that had from various locations in town. That was the highlight for me. Like what stays in my head the most? Okay. When you say in town, are you referring to Tallahassee or something else? The camera footage that showed on the Dateline. I think it was like street cameras and I like Premier's cameras. Okay, go ahead, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. And we all appreciate your candor. Uh-huh. You were asked if you had formed an opinion and said somewhat. Yes. All right. Given that opinion, is it fair to say walking in here because you've had that pre-existing opinion? Yeah. Is that fair? Yeah. That's pretty fair to say. Okay. I have nothing further. All right. The bailiff will escort you out. Okay. Defense moves to strike. No objection. She'll be excused. I'm going to go through with you 5 questions that I discussed with everyone as a group. What do you know about this case? Prospective juror. So I used to live on Prescott. Probably about 8 or so houses down from where it happened. I was home that day randomly. We were going to an appointment. Go to leave. Police had us blocked. Later, she should have been a witness. They later came by and asked us if we had any security cameras. So I have a pretty good idea about what happened. My kids also, both of them at the time, were at creative preschool. So you know, pretty big deal in both areas. So you directly observed then the investigation as it was happening, unfolding that day. Correct. All right. From there, have you either watched the news or obtained other information about this case? Yes, sir. I've seen the proceedings and what's happening. So you're aware of the prior trials? Yes, sir. Have you followed the case closely? I would say, yes, sir. All right. Given all that you know, do you believe that you can be fair and impartial juror? I think so. Have you formed an opinion? No, I can listen to the evidence, obviously. I don't know everything. Fair play. That's me, fair play. Given what you know concerning this matter, either through the investigation, past trials, or other sources of information, are you able of disregarding that and relying solely on what you would hear as evidence? Yes, sir. Is there anything that would prevent you from serving as a jury? Yes, sir. I run a small construction company and we're renovating a difficult property right now, as I would have to lay my employees off. They can't do this. They could be fined for several days. 3 weeks would be detrimental. So big deal. We still have bills coming in even if we're not working. So be a financial hardship. Yes, sir. If you were selected, what arrangements could you make? I don't know. It's not like there's anyone that could cover you. My father is semi-retired. He's still the namesake for the business. But I don't know what we would do. We would just have to pause work and lay the guys off and kind of eat into savings. Okay, is that something you might hold against us? I mean, it's my business, but I understand it's my civic duty civically. But it would be very difficult. Understood. Thank you. Nothing further. This is usually where I tell you to close your eyes and think of the giant American flag and the eagle soaring behind it. I completely understand. We're just very small. I'm sure you've heard everything. Defense, you're going to agree and consent on the dismissal. Very well. You may step back out, sir. Juror Jones exits. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Let me see what you guys have said so far. I have not read the Mayor of Tallahassee part yet. I'm literally on page 56, so I can't wait for that, though. Even though I sat there from all of this, it was so hard to hear. Oh, really? Oh, I bet. I don't know why they don't talk loud or turn the mic up. I hope Bree gets some perspective on the truth to help her raise her son. Well, we sat behind the mayor when they called him in. Daly. His name is Daly. He's John Daly. Congratulations on booking it. Congratulations. And thank you, Justice for Dan. That's right. And by the way, so, I follow Lori Page and I've helped search for her. I don't have her picture up, but Lori Page, today is her birthday. So there's a girl that's been missing from Tallahassee since last June 3rd. Today she turned 13. No hide, no hair of this child. Parents aren't searching for her. Uncle isn't searching for her. No one is searching for her, but a pastor, myself, and a teacher's assistant. That's it. That's all she has. But today she turns 13, so if she can hear this, and she's with us still, if she can hear this, happy birthday, Lori, and you're really wanted home, so please come home. So I wanted to say that during this little break. Okay, Your Honor, can I make a brief record? Go ahead. All right. We're moving quickly, and I think the prosecution has been extraordinarily credible. So I'll have this say that as a caveat. But if somebody starts off saying they think Mr. Adelson is guilty, I think the inquiry should stop. I don't think that there's any rehabilitation that would be sufficient under Florida law. When a prospective juror walks in and has formed an opinion about the defendant's guilt, I understand the court has a job to do. We have a record to go through, but I don't think you can come back from that. Well, he's just trying not to use all his strikes now, isn't he? So I just want to state that for the record, to the extent that it moves things along quicker, but I think that's a pretty extraordinary opinion to have, and I understand the case has received a ton of media. So for what it's worth, I'll state that for the record. State, do you have any position concerning that? Yes, sir, I disagree with the defense's position. On the law, I would have to provide that case law to Your Honor, but I think Your Honor's inquiry reflects the correct standard, which is, can they set aside any opinions and render a verdict based solely on the evidence? So Dugan did not want to use all his strikes on the obvious. All right. And I understand Singer and its progeny on this issue. I'm going to deny the request. Again, once a prospective juror has provided that opinion, it definitely skews towards their excusal. However, we need to hear from them fully, determine whether or not they're capable of disregarding their knowledge and rendering a verdict based solely on the evidence. Can you imagine being any defendant at this point? Any defendant, and hearing all those people walking in saying you're guilty, and we're only on page 57. Mr. Triplett, good morning, sir. Please sit down. Sure. I'm going to go through these 5 questions. I've heard a little bit about the news. I don't really want to watch the news much, but my wife often has it on, and I kind of tune it out. I believe there are only 2 gentlemen that actually did the shooting, and I believe they've already been tried and found guilty. I'm not even positive about that, but that's what I think I know about this. I know that Mr. Adelson is the brother-in-law, the brother of the ex-wife, I suppose, and that's kind of all I know. And did you obtain this information from television, radio, the Democrat, where else? There's 2 places where I've heard it, television news, a little bit on the radio, and I would say, but on a moderate basis, I listen to a thing called The Morning Show with Preston Scott. He's on my competing station. He's very right-wing conservative. I know that he talks about this case. Even when I have him on, I kind of tune out what a lot of things are said. I kind of listen to him for a little bit of comedy and a little bit about politics, and I'm kind of a sound junkie. I like to have a radio on. I sleep with the radio on. I bet that's fun. Who thinks that is a fun guy? I listen to music all night, and in the morning sometimes when I'm in the mood, I'll turn that show on. That's where I probably heard more anything about this case. I certainly don't agree with Mr. Scott, but a lot of things politically and socially, or even when he may feel about the case. So his opinions are not my opinions. I just think he has a pretty strong opinion. that everybody involved is guilty. And that's how I would summarize what I know. And I'm just trying to be very forthcoming. We need that information. Everything going in my head and heart about this. How often do you listen to the show? Well, I didn't listen to it this morning because he's in the court. I'm sure about this week is over. I will have listened to it 2 days. Some days I'm like, I'm not in the mood for that stuff. The political stuff just gets me angry, jacks up my blood pressure. So twice a week, maybe. Okay, based on what you currently know. Do you have an opinion concerning the guilt or innocence? No, I do not. Fair play, dude. Are you capable of setting aside your present knowledge, disregarding? Yes, I am. Do you believe you can be fair? Yes, I do. Is there anything will right you? No. State, defense, thank you. Good morning. Dubin. Scott has some very strong opinions. Oh, I bet Scott loves this. He's very opinionated. He thinks he's right about everything on the planet. Now, Preston Scott, I listen to him too, even though he's on a... He does think he's right about everything on the planet. That's true. So do I. So do most people. All right. Mr. Scott has talked quite frequently about this case. Yes, he has. He's talked quite frequently about Adelson's guilt. Hasn't he? He sure has. Yes, sir. That's true. So when you hear about that, do you think I want to think about that for a moment? Sure. You can understand how important this is to both sides. Oh, this is the most important thing on the planet to this gentleman. Yes, I get it. And I appreciate your candor. Sure. So what's swirling around up there? What you're feeling in there? Is that how you really talk to people? Okay. Think about it for a minute. And I want you to think whether or not Scott's opinion may have seeped through a couple of those brain cells. How demeaning. Let me give you an answer that hopefully doesn't open a larger can of worms. I was a police officer from 82 to 97. I was a lieutenant from the Florida Marine Patrol in charge of all the Collier County operations. That's Naples, Florida. I was falsely accused of a felony domestic violence against my wife. I lost my job and wound up in a lawsuit with the state. I went from being a guy that said all police are honest and prosecutors and the police officers never lied to a guy that went to sue the state. I remember the night Mr. Triplett got arrested. I remember a thing about that. And I remember every time I arrested a police officer. So I went from a guy that thought all police officers were telling the truth to, wow, guys are just, you're full of it. That was 25 years ago. Now everybody's a human and everyone's fallible. Humans are really fallible. That includes Mr. Scott. That includes Facebook friends, which are like 80% police officers. Some of them I found out some really good people, and there's people are people. So until I hear facts for myself, facts in a courtroom, not media hype, in my mind is what there are facts, not on what Mr. Scott or anybody else thinks. Dubin, do you think Mr. Scott has all the facts? Not at all. I don't like or trust the media at all. You heard me. I turned the news off. I don't like the media. All right. I have two more questions. Sure. If you'll indulge, go for it. Why do you listen to him? Well, on a national political level, I like his opinions most of that. Although some of them are flawed, I can think of some things that I disagree with him adamantly. I'm entertained by it. Got it. Well, you getting a chance to see Mr. Adelson now in person? And give Mr. Scott's opinion have been, given what you've heard on the news. I think you said you heard about it on the news. Can you look at him and how do you view him now? To be honest, he kind of reminds me of my brother. He's a great little guy. Can you presume he's innocent? At this point, yes, I can. No hesitation? No hesitation. And are you comfortable that you would be okay if you had to face Mr. Scott? If you met him one day and it was prosecution didn't live up to their burden, then I was part of the jury that acquitted him. Oh, sure. There's numerous subjects where I'd love to bump into him and tell him how wrong he is about things. But yes, all right. You understand why I'm asking and being as sure as I can be. As a guy who was facing prosecution for felony domestic violence, and as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if because of the fact that I listen to Mr. Scott, you wind up going, I'm not really comfortable with Mr. Triplett anyway, but I'm trying to give you honest, forthcoming answers. I understand. Thank you for your honesty. I have nothing further. Before you step out, the court says, I have one question about the radio while you're sleeping. Do you fall asleep first or does your wife? More importantly, has the dial ever changed when you wake up? No. Since I was about 11 years old and I sleep with the radio on extremely low music, like white noise, kind of like white noise. That's all. I feel like my wife would record a tape and turn it into You have to do more chores, but that's just me. Mow the grass, mow the grass. Thank you, Mr. Triplet. Thank you. State, do you wish to be heard? No motion, Your Honor. Defense, not at this time. We'll return them to the group. So he's going back. Great answers on his part, though, right? I mean, he just told the truth. I like that. Here we go. How do you know about this case? Just heard about it online. Didn't read much on it. Just saw a headline. Moved on. That's kind of how I read the news anymore. Okay. And were you just looking at it like the Democrat or some other news source? Yeah. I couldn't recall the name, but a news source of some sort, local. Have you read Democrat articles, local TV, ever recently concerning this case in particular? No, sir. Have you formed an opinion concerning guilt or innocence? I have not. Are you able to set it aside? I am. Do you believe that you could be fair and honest? Yes. Is there anything that would prevent you from serving? I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 6-month-old son. That kind of is tough, but I guess I could try to make it work. But the little one has a double ear infection. It creates a big conflict there. But my wife and I are trying to do the best we can if we need to. Okay, parties, I'll allow you to follow up. Is there any family in town that can assist? There is. They work full time, so maybe, maybe not. Okay, no further questions. Defense. Good morning, Mr. Weaver. How are you? Good morning. Good. Can you recall what you read on the case? Just the picture, that just basically the headline about a trial that basically is pretty broad. Got it. Do you recall what picture it was? A picture of, I believe, this gentleman. Sorry. Okay. Did you have any reaction or seeing him today? Did you have any reaction in terms of whether you think he looks like he may have been involved? Just anything like that? Picture that. I guess I don't. Just matching picture, face and face. Got it. All right. And did you have any reaction at all to what you read or picture you saw? Any reaction? I think the picture just looked like a mugshot. So I guess just what you typically would like a mugshot. Maybe not just best your picture that you've taken. Some people smile. Prospective juror. Yeah, I guess they would. But I guess pretty basic. But obviously, just the reactions of seeing a mugshot, I guess, with nothing high, nothing low. Got it. If that makes sense. Thank you. Yes, sir. You may step back out. State, no motion. Defense, no motion. Sends him back. The court, I'm going to go through the next 5. Fair play. I've watched the 2020 special. I've kept up with local news. I think as much a person who's interested in this type of material would be, who also lives in Tallahassee, I would say probably I know more than the average. Okay, so capable. Cable, local, Democrat, internet, yes, very well. Based on what you know, have you formed an opinion? A personal opinion? An assumption? Yes. What is that opinion? I would assume that he's guilty. Are you capable of setting aside the knowledge that you've obtained, disregard it, and render a verdict solely based on the evidence? I believe so. Can you be fair and impartial? Yes. Again, I love that the prospective jurors are separating those questions because they truly believe they can be fair and impartial, even though they've already declared that they believe he's guilty. I love that. Is there anything preventing you from serving on the juror? Possibly. I just put an offer in on a house in Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia. I may have that accepted later this evening. I may need to be in Savannah for the proceedings because I'm buying a house. That's pretty cool. Okay, parties, no questions. Defense, good morning. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Blah, blah. Hi. I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate your candor on what you read about the case. And I said you watched 2020. That was a 2-hour special, right? Uh-huh. Okay, what do you recall? What's in your mind walking in about that story? What is the case about? I mean, the case is about a murder for hire plot. It's I remember a lot of police work at the time that 2020 came out. I think that just the hitman had been arrested and no one else had been arrested. So at the time, I had moved to Tallahassee in 15. So I was just catching up on what everything was going in the city and the people involved. Yeah. Have you listened to any podcasts? Fancy. They're calling you now. Have you listened to any podcasts? Podcasts? I don't think so. Anything besides the 2020? I think there might have been a Dateline. Okay. And what do you recall about the Dateline? I don't recall any differences. Well, that doesn't say much about the whole 2020 versus Dateline, does it? I just saw what have been presented to be facts of the case, the evidence. I read the Democrat, got it. Yeah. And when the court asked you, You said you had a personal opinion, you have an assumption, and that you assume Mr. Adelson is guilty. And thank you very much for the candor. Candor is the word of the day. You can understand how important this is. Given that, you walk in with an opinion, isn't it fair to say it would be difficult to sort of delete that from your mind? I think that I'm a very pragmatic person when presented with evidence in front of me. I think I'm pretty good at looking at the facts. However, I would agree that it would present an issue. But I do think 100% that I'd be able to parse out the evidence, Mr. Durbin. And no one's asking for the right answer here, but I want to focus on the part where you think it's an issue. I don't know. I don't know if I have bias. Okay. It could be. I don't know about the jury selection. Everyone has an opinion. It's hard to extract yourself what's going on as a citizen in Tallahassee. Ain't that the truth? Got it. I wouldn't say that I'm biased, but I would say, I'm interested in true crime. This is something what I've been keeping up with. I don't want to say I can't do my civic duty. I think if I were selected, I would be able to extricate it to the best of my ability. Extricate. Good word. But people are people. Human biases exist. I have nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor. You may step back. Here's where it gets good, I bet. We moved to strike this juror for cause. I think it's clear she wanted to say the right things to try to rehabilitate herself, but under Cavatelli versus State, any reasonable as to the impartiality of the juror? Yes. That the standard is construed by Florida courts because, he ain't from here. So Dubin isn't from here. Generously resolved in favor of excusal. When a prospective juror walks in and says they have a personal opinion and assume the defendant is guilty, and then when I asked her if she could set it aside, she of her own volition without prompting said it could remain, quote, an issue. And when I said, do you think that it might be a problem in setting aside, her answer was, quote, it could be, and that it should be to the best of her ability. Copshaw versus State says that's not enough. If there is an equivocation of a juror isn't sure, then they must be dismissed. I don't, frankly, Your Honor, think this is a close call. She was saying that she didn't. I think she didn't want to view herself as biased. But in the end, she said, I guess we're all human, and humans have bias. I object, Your Honor. We're all human. We all have bias. That's an accurate statement. She indicated it wouldn't be an issue. And then she was 100% confident she could separate what she heard from the evidence and the facts. If I could respond to that, Dubin, very briefly, I'm going to try to do Everett. The Supreme Court has recognized that oftentimes jurors are the worst judge of their own bias. Someone that walks in here with the opposite of the presumption of innocence and then equivocates, I can't imagine they could, equivocates about whether they could remain impartial, starting from a place of guilt. Just because she says she could, she tried to rehabilitate. She probably didn't even think she was rehabilitating herself. She's just talking. She tried to rehabilitate herself. She never got there and said unequivocally that she could set it aside. She noted that it could be an issue. Taken with the totality of the responses, I'm going to find that I have a doubt. Reasonable doubt as to her impartiality, not only because of her opinion, but because of all the subject matter. She is excused. Please bring in Gosling. Judge, may I bring up one point? First, here's Rashbaum. 2 voices, please. I'll try to do voices. So I can't do Rash. His voice box is smaller than mine. I can't do his. Just it may be an issue. And we have some motions. We have some motions in limine that you ruled in favor, including Professor Lacasse's testimony, some of what as to the double hearsay. But if he can testify to other relevant matters, I think that part was left. I understood. Go ahead. Some of for instance, I get Dateline in 2020 confused. Really? So again, I'm just bringing it to your attention because it's an issue that maybe some jurors, looks like everybody, except for one. If they listen to those presentations, they're going to have knowledge that the rest of the jury doesn't have. So I just bring that to the attention of everyone in the room. The court. Well, I'm not expecting them to regurgitate everything they saw in the news program, but if I want to inquire as to the details that you remember from Dateline 2020. This is your opportunity to ask now. Thank you, Sue. Your Honor, I have one small request, and if you say no, I could get it. Could I either have a cup of that coffee that's staring at me? You may. Thank you. Please bring in Ghost Line. Yes, sir. You could take a seat. So when did you move to Tallahassee? December. There's your guy. Okay, and have you ever seen absolutely nothing about this case? No, sir. Based on what you know, do you have an opinion? No, sir. Do you believe that you could be a fair or impartial jury? Yes, sir. Are you capable of rendering a verdict solely? Yes, sir. Is there anything that would prevent you from serving on this jury? No, sir. State, no questions. Nothing, Your Honor. You may step back. Out, sir. There you go. There's your one. Oh, they got two now, right? Please bring in Corbin. Ms. Corbin. What do you know about this case? I know a lot about this case. And what exactly? I live on Egret Lane, which is probably less than a mile or so from the scene of the crime. That's true. I have some friends that were living down the street with her mother on Truscott at the time. I probably passed the scene of the crime an average of 4 times a week, just coming and going where I live. So for real, she drives by, not because she's trying to get to a liquor store. I have a friend that served at the Temple where Dan Markel served, and we were in book club together. I followed the case through the media, probably every single form of media. I know that there were 3 trials, Rivera, Garcia, and Magbanua. However you say her name. Magbanua. He probably said Magbanua. Okay. I know that the defendant had a relationship with her, and he was on the phone with her a lot, and they all communicated. I followed it very closely on the media and the newspaper. It was close to my heart. I have 2 grandchildren. My father died when I was young. I know what it's like to grow up without a father. Even at my age, I know that grandparents have not had access to those children. Girl, she knows it all. She knows it all. Based on this, do you believe you can be impartial? Probably not. Very well. Have you formed an opinion? Yes. And is that opinion that he's guilty? Yes. Are you able to set aside knowledge, disregard it? Yes, but I would say no, probably just because of how closely you followed. It's been almost 10 years. And yeah, I know people that were, close, at least neighbors. I'm a member of the Benton Hills Neighbor Association. Did they not give these people a survey before they showed up? Does anyone know? Sonny, if you're still on here, did they not survey these people before they even came in? I know you're our sweet neighborhood, and when something tragic happens like that, it's hard to avoid. Understood. Man, the bailiff will take you back outside the room for a moment, and I'll confer with the attorneys. Thank you. Are you both in agreement, or do you wish to speak further? I'll defer to the defense to make a motion. Smart. I'll make a motion to have Juror Coven excused. No objection. She will be excused. Prospective juror. Yes. Miss Addison, you come prepared, all right? I'm going to go through the 5 questions. I've watched a lot of stuff on YouTube. Here you go, fancy. So I've seen a lot. Dress shows like Court TV and Law and Crime and some local stations. Probably deep mentor lawyer. So you watch subject matter pertaining to true crime or criminal justice. A lot of true crime, especially in particular local stuff. Do you remember all the sources that you watched? Not all of them. I know the ones mentioned, some of the local TV stations. So both local and internet. Okay. Based on what you know, what you've already consumed, have you formed an opinion? Yes. What is your opinion? Honestly, I think he and several of his family members did it. Are you capable of setting aside the knowledge you've obtained from the source? I'm not sure if I could or not. Do you believe that you're capable of being fair and impartial? I would hope so, but like I said, I'm not 100%. Very well. Is there anything that will prevent you from serving a issue? I'm having some medical issues that I'm trying to get addressed. I'm having some issues with blood and mucus in my stool, and I'm trying to get an appointment to get that checked out. All right, thank you. Do you have any follow-up questions? No, Your Honor. Defense. Do you have any follow-up questions? No. I just have an application. Very well. Ma'am, the bailiff will take you back out. Go. I move to strike. No objection. She'll be excused. Mr. Brown comes in. Mr. Brown, that is not why you've been summoned. Some discussion off the record. I'm not wearing purple. We're going to go through the questions with you that I posed to the group earlier. What do you know about the case? I've read about it in the paper. I've seen it on TV. My in-laws live in the neighborhood where it happened, so I've driven by. Again, not to go get liquor. By the way, bullet bourbon was served at my party last night. Served at the party. Both the rye and the bourbon. They bring them through 50, but Sonny, they didn't have, you don't know if they gave a survey out. You don't know if they emailed or mailed a survey, or when the people got served, they had to answer a survey. Stool talk. I was a nurse, so I love the stool talk. I mean, if you could say that in front of these people, you can pretty much say anything. And that's how you get out of jury duty. That and say you voted for Trump, those things, that'll get you out. So Benton Hills you're referring to. Yeah. Having said that, I don't feel like I know the facts. I know some of the hoopla, the discussion about it, but I haven't really ever looked at it from a serious perspective. So the Democrat, maybe some TV news that would be your source. Yeah. When is the last time you believe you consumed anything about this case? I don't remember. It wouldn't be recently. Based on what you know, have you formed an opinion? No, I really haven't. Are you able to set aside whatever knowledge you currently have, disregard, and render a verdict? I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, we all try to do our civic duty, and it's a very serious case. A lot of things are at stake. So, yeah, I know when you say, I hope so, it's somewhat equivocal. Are you capable of getting? Yes, I am. It's just, do you believe that you can be fair? I do. Is there anything that will prevent you from serving on this juror for the next 3 weeks? It depends on when it takes place. Not today. I have business meetings out of town the rest of the week that I can't miss. I have 18 people flying in to see me and meet with me on various topics. What do? I'm a political consultant. Is an easy answer. I'm teaching a fundraising or seminar in DC this week, which is the reason why I couldn't be there the rest of the week. All right. My wife also has a summit that she's in charge of, an educational summit. The second week in November, which would be difficult to manage from it. We have twin 14-year-old boys. Trying to see if I recognize any of these people. Taking them to school, that sort of thing. We might be able to get work around that, but depending on when case is happening. State, you may ask your follow-up. What happens if you have to miss stuff? Your fundraising? 18 people fly to DC for no reason. When is that happening? Tomorrow. I leave tomorrow. I'm on Wednesday and Thursday and come back Thursday night. Okay, no further questions. Good morning, Mr. Brown. How are you? Great. How are you? There's no right or wrong answers. Okay. So I'm going to get back to what the judge focused on as well. Your response when you said, I would hope so. Before I do that, however, can you tell us what you recall reading specifically? I recall more about the crime than I do about the charges. I'm assuming we're talking about today. The two people were hired to shoot Markel. Is that the name? And it was done in the garage. I remember that specifically. And I do remember there were some allegations of family being involved. But I don't remember specifically what those allegations entailed. And what was your reaction when you read and heard about this? Like anytime you hear a crime, you're sad and you're worried. You're worried about your community. It's like, it could have been me. Only if you have in-laws that want to put a hit on you. You don't know what the circumstances brought about that crime in the first place, which is true. So it's worrisome, but it's not a reaction that I haven't had to other crimes as well. This one just seemed to have some publicity around it. Where others in Tallahassee have led less publicity. Okay. And what you saw it on TV or read about it? What did you hear about Mr. Adelson? I don't remember the specifics, but there was a family connection that might have brought him to this involvement. I remember something about parents. I don't remember specifically what it was. And since then, his name and his picture has been in the paper and on the news frequently. So it kind of reinforced in my mind that there was some connection. But again, I don't really remember specifically what the connection was. So you remember seeing him on TV? Yes. And in the paper? I do. And what if reaction do you have seeing him? None. Nothing that comes to mind. All right. And you mentioned what your in-laws live in Benton. In Benton, yes, about 4 or 5 blocks away. What opinions have they shared? I think they were surprised it happened so close. It's a very quiet neighborhood. I don't know what they've expressed about any comments. That brings me to the statement you made. Yeah. And I hope you understand why. Oh, absolutely. No. What you said, you would hope so. Is there anything in your mind, even a little bit, that makes you feel like he's been arrested and charged with this, that he must have been involved? Juror, I don't think so. And the reason why I said I hope so is it doesn't matter whether it's Mr. Adelson sitting here or some other case. I would just hope, as a godly person, as a person who respects law and order, that I would be able to set aside anything that I might have heard about the case and act in a manner that I should, which is taking the facts, considering them, and, voting with my conscience and when the jury is convened. So sitting here and looking at him, having seen his face, do you presume him innocent? I think that's what we're all afforded until the facts prove otherwise. And if they don't prove otherwise, are you comfortable rendering a verdict or not guilty, even though there's a lot of publicity about it? I'm not sure when I understand the question. So in other words, if the prosecution doesn't meet your burden, does the fact that they don't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, does the fact that the case has received media attention give you any hesitation of going back and facing your community? Not at all. Not at all? No, because they wouldn't have been in the room hearing all the facts and everything else presented. Okay, I appreciate your candor. And I'm sorry if it felt like I was prying. Nope. I'm just trying to make sure you're doing your job, to make sure that you can do your job. I appreciate your understanding. I do have one follow-up, and I'll let all the attorneys follow up here. Concerning this seminar, are you capable of rescheduling that if you ultimately have to? In theory, I can get someone to do it for me. I'd have to pull a lot of strings to make it happen. I've got a couple $1,000s invested in tickets and hotels and, dinners that I was going to hold, entertaining the clients, right? I got to run. Oh, bye, T. Have a good evening. Have a good evening. But I could figure it out to say that could happen today, that it's all possible. Believe me, I'll be in touch. Okay, please take Mr. Brown back. Mr. Brown had to go sit. Court, all right. He is to return for a grape. If you can let him know, go out. I guess make any calls or arrangements he needs to make. He will be summoned back for voir dire. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Judge, may we have a brief break? Yes, they had a break. Hello, Your Honor. Good morning. I'm going to go through 5 questions. And this last name is Rotten. Well, I've heard radio, paper since it began. I mean, I've lived here, so I knew that the day he was killed until now. I've heard various as far as the trials are concerned. And the people that have been, so the Democrat, local news, yep, WFSU, things like that. Yeah. All right, based on what you know, have you formed an opinion? I wouldn't say 100%, but it's sort of like the elephant in the room. If you've heard ever enough about it, you sort of have thoughts. Nothing that's definitive, but you can't help it, some sort of court. And I guess to follow up on that point, when you read or heard about it, is this something similar to if it's on the TV, you'll watch it, or you actively seek it out? Just watching it. I'm not actively seeking it out. The only thing was that he was a professor at the law school, and I work with attorneys. So I didn't know if any of them was one of them personally or had him as a professor. Are you a member of the bar? Nope, I'm a legal assistant. Are you able to set aside your bias? No, your present knowledge, disregard it, and render a verdict solely based on the evidence? I think so, yes. I think I would be able to. You can never say for sure, but I would think so. I try to look at both sides and not have a preconceived notion going on and just listen to what's said versus, very well, I understand you're telling me a response, but the equivocation is where there will be a follow-up. To the best of your ability, do you believe that they'll be capable of serving on this juror, being fair and impartial? I do, she says. Is there anything that will prevent you from serving on the jury? Preventing me? No. As I said, I'm a legal assistant, so being away for 3 weeks when we're really short-staffed makes a difficult situation. It doesn't prohibit me. It's just not something that I would look forward to because you would have a lot of work when you go back. I would have a lot of work to do. And there's certain things that only I do that's going to sort of stop as long as I'm out. State. Probably what I would do is have to take up my laptop home just to keep up. Okay. If you were forced to do that, though, could you give us a commitment that you would make sure enough sleep so that you could give us your full attention? Yeah, like I said, I'm probably doing my own work at home after hours just to keep up, but I would say yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. As far as sort of rendition, I hear things, I form opinions. Is that it's completely normal? I think that is completely normal, but normal doesn't apply in the courtroom. Right. So we need you to only get the facts and evidence from the courtroom. Right. We can't have you deciding a case based on something you've heard on the news, right? Absolutely, I agree. So in light of that, can you assure us that you will get your facts and evidence inside the courtroom and not from another source? Yes. Okay. You'd be able to make the separation? Yes. All right. Thank you. No further questions. Defense? Dubin. Is it rotten? Rotten. Rotten? I apologize. No, I don't. It happens all the time. All right. I don't ever take offense. So I want to assure you there are no right or wrong answers. Okay. I would just ask you to search yourself as I'm asking you these 3 questions and I really think it through. So you mentioned that you've heard and read about the case from the day he was killed, right? I appreciate your honesty. Can you tell us what you recall hearing? Well, he was killed pretty much in his home. And that to anybody is pretty shocking and that you're not safe. But also the fact that it wasn't sort of a local, so to speak. It was sort of, I don't want to say it, people that actually did it potentially came from South Florida. You can say anything. It was not really sort of a normal case. So to me, the thought is that it's just not somebody walked in to rob him. Got you. It was something that was planned. And there was thought into that and whatnot. Got it. What did you read or hear about the Adelson involvement? Well, his sister is the victim's ex-wife, and I know there was no children. There were children involved. As far as custody issues and visitation, which, as I know, can be very volatile. Both parents love them, but you can't have the child in the same place. There's got to be give and take, and that can cause emotion runs very high. So from that perspective, I knew that outside people had to come in possibly to do it. So it was, like I said, some sort of planned or seemed to be planned. I don't want to say was. And did you read or hear Mr. Adelson was involved in the plan? There was always speculation and some family members were involved, not him alone. But there was always the discussion because they investigated probably his sister, his parents, and himself as far as that. Okay. So there wasn't necessarily an indication that he alone was involved in it. So to speak, there was always the idea it was one or more people in the family might have been involved in this. So you seem to know a fair amount about the case, at least from the news, right? Just what was in. And when His Honor asked you if you formed an opinion about the guilt, your words were, I would say, not 100%, but it's like elephant in the room, right? Nothing definitive, but I don't want to cut you off. That's okay. When you read something, especially as long as it's gone on, you speculate within yourself. This could have been, this could have been a scenario. You don't necessarily say, no, I know this. This is how it happened. Okay. But you speculate just with the little bits of information. Well, it could have been this person. Could have been that person, It could have been this or that. And you could understand how important this is for Mr. Adelson. I understand. So what I'm asking you right now, I cut you off. That's fine. So what I would ask you to do is just think about it for a moment. Because you've heard quite a bit about that case. Right. And you just said that you always form opinions. Tell me what the opinion is. And he can take it. It's fine. Right. So my opinion is it had probably something to do with maybe the situation with the custody, and it could have been something with the family. Did not hear any other reason why it couldn't be. Got it. So you speculate on that, but definitively no. I mean, equally, it could have been the ex-wife, her parents, him, or somebody else that totally unrelated to the family that thought, hey, I'm helping. Is it fair to say, and if I'm getting it wrong, you tell me, is it fair to say that you speculated he was involved? I speculated that he could have been involved, yes. So starting the case off, given your pre-existing knowledge and the speculation that he could have been involved, right? Do you think that you're the best juror for the case? I don't know. Because of that, because of the potential, I would try to be fair, but sometimes subconsciously you may have, as I said, since you've heard something, you can say you're going to be fair, but can you really be fair? So this is the point where I would ask you to really search yourself. Do you have any hesitation? Juror, I would say there's probably a shadow of a doubt that it might taint my thoughts. Dubin, okay, all right. So is it fair to say then that because you have a shadow of a doubt that it might taint your thoughts? That it might be difficult for you to come full presumption of innocence? I would say that's certainly possible. I certainly wouldn't, like I said, I can't really commit to saying that. I always try to be fair. All right. Juror, to both, to both parties. And because I do work in the legal system, sometimes I can see the person's side that we're going to go against. I can see their point of view. Okay. So I do try to be fair, but I can say 100%. I can't say 100% no. Okay. Yeah. I so appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much. You may stick back out, ma'am. The bailiff will escort you. Do I either wish to be heard? I do. Yes, Your Honor. I would move to strike. I think it got it right this time, Mr. Rotten, for cause. I gave her, I think that she was going to try as hard she could as be honest as she could. And this is exactly the scenario that Cop Show said. Ultimately, she could not give an unequivocal response that she could be fair. She said she would try on numerous occasions. She said that at the end, there would be a shadow of a doubt, I think, looking at the totality of her answers. This is something that came in here saying that she's heard about the case, began from the day he was killed until now. And I think Your Honor initially focused on her answer when she said, when asked about if she'd form an opinion, she said, not 100%, but that's the elephant in the room. Nothing definitive, but, and then I questioned, continue to prod. It's obvious that she has some speculation about the Adelson involvement, and she just couldn't unequivocally say that she could set that aside. So I would move to strike. State, no objection. Excused. Next. Close. The Ukrainia's Kokonowski. I don't know. Kokonowski. But you could just do the Americanized version. That's fine. Okay. Coming back to why we're here. The pronunciation of your name being important as well it is represents you. Thank you. She compliments. I love Georgia. But what do you know about this case? Absolutely nothing. All right. You've never read an article, seen it on the television, cable news, anything. Like I barely have a recollection of there being a murder, but we don't watch cable news. Like I've gotten any information on my internet feeds. Like I base the information ecosystem right now. I just like to minimize the amount of knowledge that I have about really bad things. Like I need to focus on, and okay, yeah. Based on what you do know about this matter, if anything at all, have you formed an opinion concerning the guilt or innocence of Mr. Adelson? No, neither way. Are you able to set aside that you don't know and disregard and render a verdict in this case based solely on the evidence? I think so. When you say you think so, what is your hesitation? My hesitation is my commitments. So right now, serving as a juror, yes. That part we'll get to separately. Okay. But just as a matter of, can you sit in the courtroom, listen to the evidence, and give us a verdict based on what you hear in the courtroom? Are you capable? Yes, I am. Do you believe you can be fair and impartial? Yes. Go ahead and explain to us how your hardship will have with serving as a juror. So I'm a stay-at-home wife. My husband's the sole breadwinner. I have an autistic 5-year-old who's currently doing therapies on Wednesday and Thursday during the hours of 2:30 to 4. And I don't have anyone else. And that can take care of him during those appointments. My husband needs to work. So you're the primary care provider. Yes, I am. All right. When I was going through the reasons you may be excused, is there a reason you to raise your hand? Because I hadn't completely thought it through. When you're mentioning the below 5, because he's in kindergarten now and he goes to school, but drop off, pick up, everything else is, that's my job. Yeah. My husband had to do it today. Do the attorneys wish to inquire any further on the issue of hardship? No, I defer to the court. Very well. Wow, that was a big loss for them. That was a big loss for the defense, I guess. Not that they wouldn't have found him guilty anyway, let's face it. But that was a big loss because everyone's going to find him guilty. I mean, I can't imagine any other than that one guy that we're not there yet. I'm going back and I'm going to read some comments before we break. And we'll see what everyone says. Let's see what everyone says. I love Brie has gotten some insight into, you hope. Yes, she said. It will help her be a better mom to understand the Adelson dynamics. I hope that child runs far away from the Adelson family. There is clearly nothing good about it. Hopefully the boys are in it. I hope. Can you imagine any of us got asked about our sources? How much time you got? Oh, that's funny. Thought who was guilty, blank stare. What bugs me on here besides a lot? She knew she was unindicted co-conspirator for murder for hire when she got with them. Why? They were broke. I know. Okay, let's go down a little bit. Probably guilty, clearly. Could you get off the fence? I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take them to see the jury. I guess he says 2 to 3 days here too. Well, we'll see when it's finally done. I haven't read all of this, so I haven't read all of these. Wendy could blame the neighbor. Picture this. That's funny. I always think of the Golden Girls when someone says, picture this. By the time they got to the Yankees minor league pitcher, we're all nodding off, him included. He was a new dad. Aw. Nice. Let me see. Hi, y'all. Patty, did I have my radio show? No. The radio show is only 8 seasons. So no, we did not have it then. I was working for Keller Williams then. And I just remember the day. I remember the temperature. I remember the whole thing. I remember everything. Hey, Bling, how are you? I have an emotive voice because I'm very emotive. I'm such an emotive person. I really try not to be, but I am. So late. 81 here in Raleigh. Ooh. Have you read their voir dire? I have not. I have not read anything until today. I was waiting for this transcript to come out. I was very excited. I've been checking every day. Dubin got $1 million for this. I loved how Charlie told John a jail call. On the way to court one day, he heard the morning show with Preston Scott talking to a lawyer about the case. That was Carl. It was Carl Steinbeck. Absolutely. I would be like, well, I already took off work for this trial, so no problem there. Oh my God. I can't imagine if I had to go sit through this. It would be hilarious. Purple. I just looked at YouTube while I was on Inside and didn't see Patty's live. Oh, nice. I would love to do voices. I'm just not consistent. Let's see. Do we pass even though we don't have a reason? How many strikes did they get? How many strikes are they all getting? Does anyone know how many strikes they're getting? No, Mr. Brown. So Mr. Brown did not get seated. Thank you. Wendy loved those. She wanted to. She didn't. I don't know what she loved. She just. I don't know how she walks around. I just don't know how. Dubin took the money and run. All he's thrown out is that one case. One prospective jury said, well, how did he end up in that seat? Oh, that's funny. Okay. Let me go back a little bit before we end. I think we fit into the criteria. It seemed at this time asking to be excused under that exception. All right, she will be excused. I still think the female with the child who she says has autism, that was a big loss for the Adelsons, for sure. So Charlie wasn't right when he was talking on all those calls to Donna about he didn't get his people or, whatever, because that was a good person who knew nothing. So that was a good loss for him. This one, I'm only from the perspective, I've seen it on the news. I don't want a lot of news, to tell you the truth. And I've seen it on ID Discovery, I think, a show on it. It's been a long time. My recollection isn't real good. A lot of things that I did see because it's been so long, but I don't know the person's name you mentioned to begin with in the trial. Markel or Adelson? I'm familiar with the professor being local. Okay. But I'm not familiar with the Adelsons and their family and stuff too much. I don't know what to say more than that, other than I have some idea and perspective and an opinion. First, she said she didn't have an opinion. No, she does. Only because anybody who watches a TV show creates an opinion on something. I wouldn't say that I have preconceived ideas of whether there's guilt or anything on this from one perspective or another, unless I saw the facts in detail. But overall, everybody creates their own opinion initially. Keller Williams. It was Keller Williams is who I work for. It was the real estate brokerage. What is the opinion that you've reached? Well, I mean, someone. Obviously, Killer Markel. And I think certain people were arrested for it. So, just from that perspective alone, someone would have the perception that maybe there are some facts there that allowed them to be arrested. And if someone is arrested, you think that there may be some possibility of guilt, but you don't have an opinion concerning the guilt or innocence of Adelson. No. Are you capable of setting aside what knowledge you've had, either from the news or Discovery ID, disregard and render a verdict that's based solely on the evidence they presented in the courtroom? I believe so, yes. Are you capable of being fair and impartial? Yes. Is there anything that's going to prevent you from serving on the jury for 3 weeks? Well, it's a hardship for anybody, I think, to serve for 3 weeks. I do have a business that I run, and being away from the business that long creates certain hardships. I have more than 90 people working for me. And if I'm not around, some things don't get done because they're unique to what I do. But I mean, if I have to do it, I have to do it. I'm willing to serve. This is where I put on the thick and heavy about your duty as an American, but I'll wait for that. I'll let the attorneys follow up. You don't even need to do it. I'm willing to serve if that's the case. Understood. No questions, Your Honor. May I proceed? Go ahead. I think, Your Honor. How are you? Good morning. So there's no right or wrong answers. If you have an opinion, and it's just what it is, you can understand how important this is, I'm sure, for Mr. Adelson. Sure. So you mentioned, when you read or watch things, that you get some idea, perspective, and opinion. And when someone is arrested, you said that there's a perception that there were facts that allowed them to be arrested and they might possibly be guilty. That is correct, Dubin. All right. So it's fair to say, and if I get it right or wrong, you tell me, is it fair to say, Mr. Adelson, by the way, do you recognize him from TV? No. Dubin. Okay. This is him. So is it fair to say that because Mr. Adelson has been arrested, that your perception is that he might be guilty? Juror. My perception is basically that if someone's arrested, there must be some facts and evidence as to why they're arrested. Okay. Juror. I'm not preconceived as far as guilt or anything, but I'd like to know the facts behind the case. And so often, what we see on TV and in the news isn't everything that we need to make a judgment on things. So, Dubin. So the mere fact that Mr. Adelson has been arrested, does that lead you to believe there's higher likelihood that he's guilty? Juror. Again, it's been so long since that I can remember even seeing what I saw on TV and stuff. That I don't even remember who he was, if he was on TV, if they showed his picture. And I'm not sure what the facts that I even heard were, if they were facts. Dubin. Okay. Because he's pled not guilty and denies any involvement. So can you afford him looking at him? And if the answer is no, that's fine. We just want to know. I'd even ask you to just think about it for a moment. Do you look at him and presume him as he sits here now to be innocent? You're innocent until proven guilty. I mean, that's the way the law works, right? That's the way the law works, Dubin says, but it's okay if you don't agree with it. You're allowed to disagree with it. Juror, well, I do agree with it. Dubin, okay. Juror, but again, there are things we have tendency as to why a person is arrested. Okay. Juror, but I'm not saying that he's guilty of anything. Dubin, so forgive me. And if you feel like I'm being in the pain in the butt here, tell me. No. Go ahead. Dubin. So when you said, but when someone's arrested, I now have to ask the follow-up. I know I have a follow-up. I'm just trying to think of what it is. The follow-up is because you said, when someone's arrested, does it lead you to believe that he's in this case? It's been in the media. You've seen some things about it. I know you've said recollection is not good, but you have some opinion. Was your opinion was that he was involved? Juror. Again, I don't even remember seeing his face. I remember the family's name. All right. Juror. And I guess where I'm coming from is this. I wasn't an officer of the law, really. I mean, I was in the military. I spent 2 years in the military police. So from that perspective, I arrested people. And those who I arrested, I either saw them do something wrong or they were being arrested because someone else saw them do something wrong. Now, that doesn't mean that what they did wrong turns out to be in the court of law, they're guilty or some major crimes or anything like that. And a lot of times it's dismissed and by the wayside because things are worked out behind the scenes, as you know, as a lawyer. But one way or another, I never thought of the person as, well, oh, I want to put this person in jail because of what happened. Dubin, understood. And with the court's indulgence, I'm just going to follow up with this comment with the military police unless you want me to wait. Wait on that aspect unless it goes to pretrial publicity. Well, it does. It does. So I'll connect it. Everett, go ahead. I was looking to scratch the surface to figure out whether the value belief came from that when someone's arrested, there's a perception that they're possibly guilty. So when you said, and you referenced your prior experience in the military police, did you ever get it wrong? Did you ever arrest the wrong person? I didn't arrest someone because they weren't necessarily guilty. Okay. I arrested them because there was a crime committed and there was evidence to the fact that the person would have committed the crime, usually. Now, sometimes you would see a person commit the crime. I'm talking about in instances where you didn't see a crime committed, said Dubin. Oh, no, never. Do you think the police ever got it wrong? Juror, oh, yes, absolutely. They get it wrong. Dubin, prosecutors ever get it wrong? Juror, absolutely. Dubin, all right, I have nothing further. Thank you for your candor. Sure. All right, Mr. Cricks. I gotta look up Cricks. I want to see what business he has. The bailiff will escort you back out. Any motions or argument, Mr. Cricks? No, not now, Your Honor. Return to group. Please bring in Gardner. Thirsty to be on jury. Actually, now I think he did get picked. Okay. These people want to think he is guilty because it's scary to think an innocent person like him could be sitting there accused of murder. Well, just think OJ. It's the same thing. OJ was looking for the real murderer of Nicole Brown up until the minute he took his last, hopefully, choking breath. Hopefully. 3 to 5. So Charlie said to Donna, he complained about using strikes on jail calls. Yeah, he did. He did. Okay, I'm going to read one more because it's 5:30. I just want to leave. I just have to go home by 6. So I'll read Miss Gardner. You could take a seat. I'm going to go through 5 questions with you now. 5 questions with you now that I discussed with the group earlier. What do you know about this case? Juror, not much. I've seen. Court, not much is not exactly an answer. Have you seen it on television? Have you read about it on the internet? Juror, back when it first happened, but not recently. Okay. Do you consume the local news as far as a Democrat, which is our local paper? WCTV, WTXL, any of those stations? Not on the regular. In passing, but that's not something I watch on the daily. All right. Have you sought out any information about the case? No. Based on what you know about this matter, have you formed any opinions concerning the guilt? No. Are you able to set aside what you do know, disregard it, and render a verdict? Juror, yes. Do you believe you're capable of being fair and impartial? Juror, yes. Do you have anything that would present in a hardship of you serving on the juror? No. State, do you have any follow-up? Kappelman, no, Your Honor. Does the defense have any follow-up? Yeah, briefly, Your Honor. How are you? Good. How are you? Good. Thank you. What do you recall reading or hearing about it when it first happened? I think there was a special or something a couple years ago, and I remember seeing the previews for that, and that's all. Did you watch the special? No. Do you recall ever seeing or hearing anything about the case, about the Adelsons, Mr. Adelson, on the preview anywhere? No. Dubin. Okay. And you didn't watch either of the specials? Juror. Oh, I didn't know it was more than one. No. Dubin. There you go. I stepped in that one. When you first heard about it or read about it, do you recall where it was? Juror. Where I heard about it? Yeah. It was on the TV, on TV. Local news? I think it was like maybe ABC or okay. Juror. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't local news because I don't watch the news. Dubin. And no opinions any one way or another about this involvement or potential involvement. Juror? No. Dubin. All right. Thank you for your time. Juror. Of course. The bailiff will escort her back out. She's returning. I don't know if it's bull, but you all wish to examine her concerning the issue. We'll ask that she be sequestered, Your Honor, to a sealed room. She should be good to go. So send 37 on their way and back in. Let me see. I'm told that 37 is having a stomach virus at the moment and is requesting to leave. So I don't know what you guys want to do in that. Sequester her. Stick her in a room. Court, Mr. Connors, can you take a seat? I guess the one that we're excusing, just let her go home so they don't get anyone else sick. Unlike Mr. Connors, who comes prepared, masked up, probably a good idea for this time of year. Mr. Connors, I'm going to go through the questions with you now that I had spoken with you earlier. Heard about? I saw something on the news about 2 to 3 years ago. Everett. Okay. Have you seen any more recent? Juror. No. Court. And by the news, are you referring to the local Tallahassee news broadcast? Juror. Yes. Court. And this was WCTV, TXL, one of those two? As if we don't have a Fox channel, Judge Everett. My heavens. Prospective juror. Yes. Court. Based on the information that you do know, what have you formed an opinion concerning the guilt or innocence of Mr. Adelson? Juror. I can't say yes. I can't say no. I've got to say, I've heard a little bit about it on the news, and I don't know. All right. Other than what you've seen in passing news, have you sought out any information? No. Are you capable of setting aside what you've already learned, disregarding it, and rendering a verdict based solely on the evidence in the court? Yes, I think so. When you say, I think so, it raises the antenna of all the attorneys in the room. I know you're saying to me, but it's somewhat equivocal. We're going to need a firm answer. Do you believe that you're capable of being fair and impartial and can render a verdict solely based on what you hear in the courtroom? Yes. Is there anything that's going to prevent you as a hardship from serving on this trial for possibly 3 weeks? No. State, you may want to follow up. No inquiry. Defense. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Conyers. How are you? Hello. All right. Do you recall what you read on the news about the case? Juror, who was just hearing about what had happened and the person who it was about and where it was and where it happened and that kind of thing. Dubin. Okay. And what did they say happened? Juror, the gentleman who was in the driveway got killed. Dubin. Okay. And do you recall what, if anything, said the Mr. Adelson's potential involvement? Juror, I can't recall offhand. But like I said, he was killed in the driveway. That's about as far as I know. I remember the name, but I can't place his face. I know the name, but I can't remember how he was involved in it. I remember the name, but that's all I can remember at the time. Dubin, which name? His name? Juror, his name. Yes. Dubin. So I notice, and forgive me, but you could understand how important this is for Mr. Adelson and the state. When His Honor asked you if you had an opinion, and I noticed you hesitated. Uh-huh. And I just want you to know there's no judgments, Dubin said. Just whatever your opinion is or isn't. If you have an opinion, you're free to share. So do you have an opinion? Even if it's a little bit of an opinion, Mr. Adelson? Juror. Nope. Like I said, all I remember on the news is his name. And that's it? Juror says yes. Dubin. You know what? I got nothing else. Thank you for your honesty. Mr. Conyers, the bailiff will escort you. That was fast. Any motions? No, Your Honor. You can return to the group. I would love to know what happened in that group in the back. I see you have some assistance with 1 foot. Hopefully it doesn't make getting around too difficult. Juror says it's okay. We're going to go through the 5 questions that somebody only has 1 foot? Is that what happened? Nothing, but just what the news, I guess it was a murder, like a murder for hire case or something. But I really don't know too much about it. It's just whatever. I like the news, watching the news, nothing big. What are you saying, Sonny? I have the notes with all the names. Juror number strikes final 15. I don't remember how or where, but it's from the state attorney's office. Judge Everett did acknowledge what he called new media in addition to mainstream print. Well, I'm just saying we have an NBC channel. We have a Fox channel. So it's usually only ABC and CBS gets mentioned by Judge Everett. So the other 2 stations need to step up their game, I guess. I mean, you're not even mentioned by the court on Fox or NBC. Sure, I watch local TV, not really the Democrat. Again, that's our paper. The court, when is the last time that you consumed something pertaining to news-wise about this case? I watch the news every day. Well, I listen to the news every day. So if it was something, I can't remember the last time I heard something about it. But the news is on in my house every morning. So, court. All right, based on the news coverage that you've seen concerning this matter, have you formed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of Mr. Adelson? No. Are you able to set aside whatever information you previously heard, disregard it, and render a verdict solely based on the evidence that will be presented in the courtroom? Yes. Can you be fair and impartial? Yes. Do you have anything that will prevent you from serving as a jury? No. State, you may inquire. No inquiry. I love that. I love that she's like, we're fine. She just keeps it going. Dubin, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Miss Bell. Good morning. I hope your leg is all right. Thank you. I heard you say one of the things that you heard on the news was that this was a murder for hire, right? Juror, uh-huh. I could be wrong. I was just listening. Like I said, I listened to the news. Dubin, there's no right or wrong answers. Whatever you heard, you heard. Whatever you think, you think. Do you really call who the news said did the hiring? I don't. Dubin, okay. Juror, I just remember it was a big case or something big going on, but nothing. I didn't go into details. Dubin, okay. Do you recall Mr. Adelson's name being mentioned, or did you see his face? Juror, I've heard his name on the news. Okay. Dubin says, what about his face? Juror, I don't really pay attention because I'm getting kids ready in the morning. So the news is playing, but I don't really sit there and watch it. Dubin, I can dig it. I can dig it. Does anyone think he was being a little patronizing there? I can dig it. I know the feeling. So what did you recall about Miss? Was that his ability to build rapport with the juror? I can dig it. Not quite. $1 million. Prospective juror. I just remembered that he's on trial, getting ready to start his trial. But like I said, I didn't go into details with it because, you're just going past and listening, but I wasn't like doing research. I just know he's going on trial. Okay. And do you assume because you heard his name and he's going on trial that he must have done something? If he's going on trial, I think that, I don't know. Dubin, it's okay. Go ahead and tell me what you think. Juror, something is happening. Your name came up somewhere. So, Dubin, you were about to say something. Go ahead and say it. Juror, he digs it. Dubin digs it. No, I wasn't finna. Finna say nothing like you're guilty or anything, right? I was just saying if your name comes up at the trial somewhere, you had to do something or some kind of way your name comes up in something. All right, so forgive me because this is one of my only opportunities to speak with you, Dubin says. Juror, that's fine. Dubin, so if I follow up, please. Juror, oh no, you're okay. Dubin, if you feel like I'm prying, you say so. And if I got it wrong, you tell me. But is the fact that you heard his name before and now he's on trial, does that cause you to think he might be guilty? No. Or he must have done something? No. All right, why not? Because I've had family that names come up and stuff, and that don't mean they're guilty. Okay? I've got nothing further. Thank you for answering. Uh-huh. Miss Bell, how many children are you getting ready in the morning? Just one. Do you want to add one to it? Do you want to take mine? Judge Everett. I was going to ask you if you wanted to take mine. The bailiff will take you back out. Thank you. Mr. McKee, everything Dubin said was patronizing and talking down. He couldn't connect with anyone, that Doobie. I mean, that just is a weird thing to say, is I can dig it. I haven't heard that in years, I think. I followed some of the case over the years, all right. And is that something you followed fairly closely? No, just sometimes I watch the trials on court TV. You know, just to see what's going on. The court. So true crime is an interest. Juror, yes. Court, very well. Have you obtained any knowledge from this matter from any local news sources, Democrat or local TV? No. Everything I've been following was on court TV, the juror says. Understood, Everett says. Based on what you know, have you formed an opinion as to the guilt or innocence of Mr. Adelson? Juror, no, not at this time. Court, are you able to set aside what you've learned from the court TV, disregard that information, and render a verdict solely on what be present as evidence in this trial? Juror, yes. Court, are you capable of being fair and impartial? Juror, yes. Is there anything that will prevent you? Any hardships for 3 weeks? Yes. I'm required to be out of town for the next 3 weeks. Starting on Monday. 3 weeks exactly. Is this related to your employment or what's the nature of employment? What do you do? I'm a service tech for a company called Blue Crest, and I travel between here and Georgia quite often for coverage. I'll do vacation coverage when we're shorthanded. Somebody might have left the company, so I travel a lot. I'm not exactly familiar with Blue Crest, Judge asked. What are you a technician of? We used to be called Pitney Bowes. We do mailing equipment. Everett says, okay. Juror says, I'm located at CSG over in Crawfordville. It's been over 15 years. Court, I understand what you're saying. State any follow-ups? What are the consequences if you're selected? Kappelman says. Juror, I'd have to talk to my boss to try to get someone else to cover because I made these plans about 3 or 4 weeks. My reservations. Kappelman, okay, is that something you'd be willing to do and maybe get back with us? Sure. I can talk to him. That wouldn't be a problem. Okay, nothing further. Defense, thank you, Your Honor. Good. How are you doing? Good. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, Dubin says. I know it's a long wait. Juror, oh no. We're actually pretty lucky today. All right, cool. Do you know if your job compensates you for jury service? I'm not sure how many days. Like right now, like today, we get compensated for that. If your job only compensated you for a couple days, would it pose a financial hardship? Dubin asked. No. Dubin, okay. I want to follow up that with what you saw on court TV. So what trials did you watch on court TV? I watched the trial of his former girlfriend. I watched the trial of his former girlfriend, Dubin says. Okay, the whole thing? Sure, not the whole thing, but kept up maybe 2 or 3 times a week while the trial was going on. Dubin, right. And then there's commentary in between the breaks, right? Juror, yes, sir. What's the guy's name? Politano? Juror, Politan, Vinny. Juror, Dubin, he's got some strong opinions. Juror, he's from Jersey. Yeah, Dubin says. Juror, he's a prosecutor. Dubin, yeah, he takes that point of view a lot of the time, right? Juror, he does. Well, he's a prosecutor. Dubin. Yeah, so he has some specific opinions about Mr. Adelson, correct? Juror. I'm sure he does. I really don't, I don't really remember him talking about him in the specifics. He has opinions about a lot of people. They're normally not positive. Mr. Dubin, all right. I'm watching Catherine's trial. What opinions did you form? And by the way, it's okay to form opinions. Juror. Oh, yes, I understand. Dubin, if you have them, just let us know what was your takeaway or takeaways from the trial. Juror, you mean like in a nutshell? Dubin, in a nutshell. Or if you want to give us a less abbreviated version, we want to listen. He loves that. Dubin loves when people just go drone on and on, doesn't he? Juror, I don't know. Looking through all the evidence of the trial, of course, I'm not a lawyer. I just like watching these true crimes and just seeing what goes on in people's lives and how people get to those points in their lives. I don't really have no more of an opinion than that. Just kind of like how she got caught up in all of it. Dubin, and what did you learn about Mr. Adelson's potential involvement? Juror, just what she's had to say about it. Dubin, and what did she have to say about it? Juror, and he was part of the, I know they had a meeting. I did watch that part. The restaurant, they talk about having a meeting with one of the potential people that was the hitman. I just know she was like the person in the middle, like a go-between. Dubin, so fair to say you have some pretty detailed knowledge about the case. Juror, yes. Dubin, so I hope you could understand that why would be, a little bit interesting to me and potentially concerning. Juror, well, that's why I said I want to be honest. Dubin, that's all we're asking for is your honesty. So please, even if you take a minute to really think about it and search yourself, this is perhaps the most important. Juror, his trial for murder? I understand that. Dubin, all right. So given the fact that you watched the trial of who the state is alleging was a co-conspirator, is it fair to say, she was convicted, Dubin, she was convicted. And I want you to think about it for a moment. Is it fair to say that Mr. Adelson might be starting off with even a little bit behind your mind as the trial starts? Juror, oh, definitely. Dubin, okay, tell me why. And don't worry, he's happier for you to be an honest man. Oh, yeah. So why is that, Dubin says. Juror, I think even if I, don't say it, don't think it, I'm already probably formed an opinion in the back of my mind of guilt or innocence. Dubin, and what is that opinion? Juror, I think he's guilty. I think he's guilty. Well, fair play, dude, because, so did everyone else. Everyone else thought he was guilty too. Okay, Dubin says, and what do you think of that? And it's okay. And I appreciate your honesty. Juror. No, I mean, I'd rather be honest because I see, these are the trials where juror taints. Yeah. And then the person goes through the whole trial. I don't think it's fair to that person. Dubin, right? Juror. You do that just to be on the jury because it's a big deal, of a juror. Like, say, OJ or something like that, just to be on it. Just watching these prior trials and just seeing what led up to these events is when I probably formed my opinion of guilt. Dubin, I think we're all super appreciative of your honesty. Fair to say that would be difficult to set aside. I mean, I could, but yeah, it'll probably be difficult. Like I said, I think in my mind, even though I try not to be prejudiced, I would be super appreciative of your candor this morning. Sorry for taking up more of your time. Dubin, nope, that's okay. That's what the process is. Thank you, sir. You all have a great day. Bye. Toodles. Juror McKeon exits. Any motion or argument? Yes, sir. Defense would make an application to strike. No objection. He'll be excused. Oh, my goodness. He realizing he couldn't connect hardly any of them, so he pulled it. I can dig it out of the pocket. I know. I just think it's really patronizing. I mean, stupid. Dubin totally disparaged Nancy Grace, and anybody who liked or watched her automatically wanted them an excuse. Well, because they have probably skills of critical thinking, but in the end, they took, Sonny, we were there, right? We leave, we go to eat, the jury has to be fed. We were done our food at I think we went to the I forget which cafe. We were done our food and walking back when I was talking to Sunny about going back to my office, because I'm like, this is going to be a while. The jury's just now eating. And so I missed the conviction, but there you have it. I mean, the way he answered some questions, I think he did mean to take up more time. I mean, he probably enjoyed it a little bit. Making a mental note here, nasty stools, and he's guilty, guaranteed to take you off the jury. I know, but imagine whatever, you're Charlie sitting there going, damn, I have an uphill battle. And he still thought he did a 96 in his testimony. That shows, this whole thing, I'm only on page 137, shows you how delusional the whole Adelson family clan is and all the other people involved. And there's probably more than those three. We don't even know yet. And damn, how delusional. You literally are sitting here watching minute after minute. You're guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. I'm not from this country. You're guilty. You're guilty. I have wet stools. You're guilty. You're guilty. I mean, they just are completely delusional having listened to that. Goodness gracious. So he's gone. Here comes Germani. You can take a seat, sir. Before I get to your questions, are you wearing that shirt because you're an Auburn fan? No, my wife's a big Georgia fan. This is just something I had before I met her. All right, I'm going to go through with the 5 questions. I mean, Judge Everett talks about the person. He tries to at least not be condescending to these people. What do you know about the case? I don't know if I recognize me, but I was on the jury for second cut. Oh my God. Prospective juror. I don't know if you recognize me, but I was on the jury for the second Catherine Magbanua trial. Well, Judge Everett wouldn't have recognized him because it wasn't that judge. That is crazy, Rashbaum pipes up. Court, something we need to know. Kappelman, what are the odds? Rashbaum, that is unbelievable. Court, that is unbelievable. Bailiff will escort you out. I feel like we should just get to skip going to jury assembly. There's another case. I know, but he did a 3-week trial. Prospective juror. I was selected for the first jury when the 3 were tried at the same time, but I wasn't. I'm sorry I was selected for jury duty, but I had a wedding to attend. That's incredible. Do you have this much luck with lotto? Unfortunately, no. Dubin. Sir, have you been hired by the state? Juror. This was my seat the whole time. This is the jury room. This is where I sat, so this is crazy. Kappelman says, all right, we'll see you at the next one. Court, stop wearing Auburn colors. Have a good day. Court, I assume neither party is objecting. No objection. New. Sure, that I discussed earlier with the group. What do you know about this case? I know that this was in the media, so I know there was a murder that was in Benton Hills. I know that the murder was perpetrated by 2 people that associated with a third person. I think it was on like a true crime podcast that I went on a bit of a binge on. Maybe it was NPR. I'm not sure. So I think the third person, a woman, was convicted last year, maybe this year, last year. Sorry. Just whatever you can recall, the court says. And that's mostly what I know. Court. Okay. Do you remember the name of the podcast? Juror. No, I'm so sorry. Court, do you watch local television news? Juror, no. Court, do you read the Democrat? Juror, I don't have a subscription to it. Every once in a while, there's an article comes across my feed that I'm interested in reading, but I do read. I do attempt to inform myself of the things that are happening in this world. I'm not a Luddite. I love this guy because that's my favorite computer word is Luddite, because my husband, Chris, is a Luddite, and I call him that. And he doesn't know what I mean. The court, other than the podcast that you listen to, do you seek out information pertaining to this case? Juror, no. Court, based on what you know through the podcast or other means, have you formed an opinion as to the guilt or the innocence of Mr. Adelson? Juror, no. Court, are you able to set aside what you've learned through the podcast or other sources disregard it, and render a verdict solely based on what will be presented as evidence in the courtroom. Juror, yes. Can you be fair and impartial as a juror? Prospective juror, yes. Court, is there anything that will prevent you from your hardship-wise? It's a bit personal, but my brother has brain cancer. And a few weeks ago, we were told that he probably doesn't have much more amount to go. He's on treatment right now. He's been on treatment, and treatment is failing. So in the next few months, I was planning on moving. He lives in Kodiak, Alaska. He's an ex-Coastie, so he was in the Coast Guard. I was planning on moving up there to support him and his family for the last couple of months that we have with him, and for that, to help stabilize the kids before he passes. Court, I'm so sorry to hear about your situation. Juror, so in the next 3 weeks, probably not, but I don't know if I could get the call tomorrow. No offense to anybody, but I'm on a plane. State, do you wish to follow up? Kappelman, no. Boy, I'm super sorry about your brother. Dubin, can you see my hours wall? Thanks. Do you think they might be on your mind quite a bit if you were chosen as jury? It's on my mind every day. Dubin, yeah. Juror, all day, every day. Dubin, would you rather not be a juror here as a juror on the case? I'm a good citizen, and Dubin says, no one's saying you're not. Juror, no. I want to do my civic duty. If that's what's selected, that's where we go. I pay my taxes. I care very deeply about our community and the nation, so I want to do what's right. But I'm under no illusion, or I want to make sure that nobody is under any illusion that my priority is the best interest of the kids. Yeah, understood. And my brother's family right now, so that's where I'm at today. Dubin, okay. All right, so forgive me if it feels like prying. Hope you understand why it's so important for Mr. Adelson. Juror, that's fine. Dubin, you seem to have followed the case, quite a bit. Is that a fair statement? Yes. I know what's been in the news. The podcast, was it Over My Dead Body? Was that the name of the podcast? Might have been. I'm not sure. Dubin, tell us everything you recall learning from the news about this case, because I know that you said you binge watched or binged. I listened to you binged on the podcast for a while. You can't binge watch a podcast, but go ahead and let us know everything you heard. Juror. So I remember hearing my first introduction to the case was that the law professor was murdered in Tallahassee, and he was the law professor of a few of my friends that were deeply heartbroken. They seemed to really care about the professor. So I don't really hear much. There was that incident. And then I heard later that they found the assailants, and this is listen, I can't tell you what I learned from the podcast and what I learned from media. Sure. Juror. It all kind of falls together. I'll give you the information that I know, Dubin. Sure. Or that I think I know, Dubin. Absolutely. Juror. That somehow they found the people. They figured out that they were from Miami, that those people were associated with, I think, a receptionist in the defendant's practice. And that there might have been a romantic relationship with the defendant and the receptionist. I have no idea. Dubin, Juror. So that's what I remember learning from. Then I saw the news coverage. Well, I didn't see the news coverage, but I read about the news coverage associated with, the two people were. I guess they were on trial. Dubin, Juror, and they were convicted. Dubin, it's okay. Juror. I don't know if they were or they weren't. I think they were. I know the woman was then convicted last year. That's only because it's more fresh on my mind. Listen, I'm an epidemiologist, and it's been a pandemic. So we're going to have to give me a break. I've had other things to worry about. I'll give you as many breaks as you can muster, Mr. Dubin says. So that's pretty much the extent of, okay, and what I know, or at least what I remember, said the juror. I hope you can understand why I'm going to continue to inquire, Dubin. Juror, sure. Dubin, because you seem to know a lot about the case, a lot of details about the case when you read or heard about the trial, the most recent trial. What is it that you learned about the accusations about Mr. Adelson related to the crime? Juror, what I remember hearing through the results of the previous trial that Mr. Adelson had been in a relationship with this person that worked at his practice, but really never did work at the practice. We all know that. And the accusation was that the person had worked on his behalf to hire contract killers to come and murder the law professor. Dubin, okay. So I want you to give this a little bit of thought. Juror, yeah. And really search yourself on this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having an opinion, especially if you've been exposed to so much information about the case. Can you think for a moment about whether or not you have an opinion? Mr. Adelson's potential involvement and what that opinion is. Juror, my opinion is more about the information have been presented. Dubin, and what's that? Juror, you take a look at the news and you take a look at podcasts and the like, and the goal of those things is to sensationalize and force you into making into emotion that can make a decision. Dubin, I'm a scientist. I don't really love the emotions that push me to decisions. Anytime I feel there's a sense of emotion coming along with the information that sends my flares up, I'm like, oh, hold on. We're not maybe looking at everything that we need to be looking at. Dubin, sure. So I'd be remiss to say that the information that was presented to me did absolutely feel like it was focused on one side of this, which implicated your client to the murder. Let me read it again. So I'd be remiss to say that the information that was presented to me did not absolutely feel like it was focused on the one side of this, which implicated your client in the murder. Sure. But I haven't made up my mind. I just know that's one piece of information, and we need a course of evidence in order to make a determination at the end of the day. Dubin, and the side of you that was presented with that information, what does it lead you to believe that he was involved? Juror, I really don't know. Dubin, okay, so forgive me. And if I only get 2 chances to potentially speak to you now, and maybe if you're back in a couple of days. So maybe a scientist, as you know, that your flares go up when they present. Sure. Yes. Dubin, when you see media or hear a podcast that presents one side, why do you binge watch or binge listen or binge on the true crime podcast that was really presenting one side? Juror, I've been trying to weed this out of my life, but I like crime stories. I like stories about crime. I distinctly remember not listening. I know I listened to My Favorite Murder. I don't know what I listened to your episode on My Favorite Murder or series of episode. Assume that I did, and I'm making an assumption that's where I got the information from. I would not have sought this out. I would have had friends that said, hey, this is a fun podcast to listen to. Because we all watch Unsolved Mysteries. So people don't think it's too detailed. And that's how I would have come across it. I would have just listened to it in a row. I would have listened to my favorite songs on repeat. He's my guy. This is my man. 20 times in a row. So if it's not any, it's just how my brain works. This is my guy. I listen to the same song 150 times. It's crazy. As you sit here today, and trust me, he can take it as if it's a negative opinion. As you sit there today, given what you've listened to, read, the fact that your friends were students, can you look at Mr. Adelson and seat yourself, and do you look at him and presume him innocent? Sure. I'm presuming that I don't have all the facts associated with anything. I like his answer. Dubin, okay. Juror, so I wish I had a better answer for you on that. Dubin, okay. Did the facts that you have indicated to you that he may have been involved or must have been involved? Juror, in the same way that I can't say because of the facts, I have essential tremor. That's why I'm shaking. It's not anything. Dubin, oh, I didn't. Juror, I'm a nervous person, but I have an essential tremor. My dad had that, where you just kind of shake, but it's not Parkinson's. I noticed it myself, so I wouldn't blame you. I'm sorry, my nose is itching. Ugh. Am I making you nervous? I hope not. Juror, no. It's not a matter of nervousness. It's just that I shake a little bit. Okay, no problem. Juror, anyways. So just in the same way they don't feel like I have enough information in order to pass judgment on whether someone's innocent or not, I also don't feel like I have enough information on passing judgment whether negative or not negative, but guilty or involved or associated. Dubin, do you feel like because the case has received a lot of media attention and your friends you said were deeply heartbroken about it, do you feel like if you sat as a juror on the case and you felt like the prosecution did not meet their burden and you felt like you could not convict, could you face your friends after that? Juror, yeah. Dubin, okay. Juror, I give my friends bad news all the time. Dubin, all right, I appreciate your candor, and I'm terribly sorry for what you're going through with your brother. Prospective juror, thank you. The bailiff will escort you out. Any motions or arguments from the parties? Not from the state. Can I have a moment, Your Honor? Go ahead. I have no notion, Your Honor, as to the hardship issue. Does either party wish to address that aspect of this? There's no leaving the trial once it's started. Rashbaum. So what are we going to do if her brother dies? The court. That's the question, essentially, that we're facing. Rashbaum. We should strike her. State. I would object, Judge. I think she has plans. He's got it. The best information we have is he's got several months. She plans to move there, but not during the time we've scheduled for the trial. I think it's a risk we're willing to take. Of course she does. The court. Very well. Based on the substance of what was said, the death is not imminent. At least she believes it to be. However, this could cause us to go into alternates if an emergency medical situation occurs. Should be returned for the group voir dire. I think it is what it is. Voir dire. Oh, I think I got it. Please bring in Mr. Jackson. And this will be the last person we address before we go on break. And that's when I will go on break. Until tomorrow, because this is absolutely fascinating. I've never read this. So hopefully I'm reading it at a pace that makes sense. Mr. Jackson, please take a seat. I'm going through the 5 questions with you now that I discussed. That was a phone. Okay. Now that we discussed with the group earlier, what do you know about this case? I remember when the murder happened because it was, you don't have many professors on campus getting shot. And I feel certain, not for sure, but pretty darn certain they were found guilty. And that's about the extent of it. All right. Did you learn any of this information from either the Democrat, local TV, the internet? Where were you, the sources in learning this information? Juror, probably TV. And I don't take the Democrat. I take it online. So probably those 2 sources. Have you consumed any information pertaining to this case recently? Juror, no. Court, based on what you already know, have you formed any opinions as to the guilt or innocence? Juror, I don't know anything about him. Court, can you set aside whatever knowledge that you have obtained, disregard it, and render a verdict solely on what will be presented as evidence in the case? Juror, sure. Yes, sure. Court, do you believe that you're capable of being fair and impartial as a juror? Juror, yes. Court, is there anything that will prevent you from hardship-wise from serving as a juror? Juror, no. State you may inquire. No inquiry. Kappelman had the easiest day, right? She had the easiest day in this whole, oh my goodness. Dubin, you said that you remembered when the murder happened. What do you recall? I remember it was shocking because it was a university professor. I got a PhD out of FSU. It's very unusual to have a university professor shot. So that should know nothing real specific. I think about, it had to do with a marriage that gone wrong. I think he was having a difficult marriage or not getting along well with his wife or something. Sir, have you posted anything to social media about this case? Juror, no. Dubin, you sure about that? Juror, pardon. Dubin, are you sure about that? Juror, yeah, I know who this is. I know who this is. Yeah, I think, this was how many years? 14? I think this is what someone said there today. That was part of this statement. I know who this is. I know who this is. I know who this is. This is hilarious. Yeah, part of the statement. Okay, 2014. So yeah, I don't think I have. Might have you and just don't remember it. Dr. Jackson, Erwin Jackson. So if you watched me in the courtroom, when Dr. Jackson came for, I think it was the final day, Sonny, sorry. Remember, and he walked in with me and Charlie looked directly at me and directly at Dr. Jackson and had him leave. They made him leave the courtroom and went in, talked to him about it, and then came back in. So it was so funny. But he told me this is what happened. So gosh, there's a lot of things I may not remember from 2014. Let me ask you this, Mr. Jackson. It's actually Dr. Jackson, and that's what I call him, and I know him. Let me ask you this. Yeah, go ahead. I certainly don't think so. I talk with people about it because it was so unusual to have a professor murdered. So I may have certainly talked with people, Mr. Jackson. Sure. Do you recall posting something wherever you talk specifically about Mr. Adelson and ending his life? Ending his life? No. Can I, the prospective juror, step out for a moment and speak to the court? That's fine. Bailiff, can you escort Mr. Jackson out? We'll call you back in a moment. So sitting in the courtroom, I took Dr. Jackson's phone because he didn't even know how to search through his feed. So I took his phone and I showed him where the search is so he can search in his own feed. And I put Adelson in it. And there was like 3 posts long time ago, nothing recent. And I think he posted a meme, and that's what this is about. So there was a meme photo, and that's all. So Dubin, I don't know if it was for the same reason, Your Honor, but this jurors was posted to social media about the case. I'm going to read the post into the record and then print it to the break for Your Honor. We've confirmed that it's him. You have a photo of him. He posted about the case in 2019, quote, "I'm sad for his parents. If I were my son, I would want to participate in terminating his life. Let's end his deep mental distress once for all." He wrote that, Sigfredo Garcia. He didn't write it about Charlie Adelson. And then when the prosecution was announced in this case, he posted, surprise, surprise, Mr. Adelson, all over social media is posting about the case. There was 3 posts. It wasn't all over social media. And the one he was talking about ending a life, was about Garcia. It wasn't even about him. Looks exactly like him. It's from his public Facebook account, I believe. I can print the court exhibit. One moment, if you could just show Mrs. Dugan and Miss Kappelman the same post that we're referring to. That might settle. Dubin, I'll represent as an officer of the court that I quadruple checked that it was indeed his photo. Court, not to put words in your mouth, but your motion as juror lacks impartiality necessary to serve. Dubin, those are words that I will gladly accept being shoved into my mouth. I would add to it that he has not been candid in the court. Dr. Jackson is in his 70s, so he's not necessarily going to remember back to 2019. Dr. Jackson is one of the most prolific investors in our town. He owns almost all of the real estate that surrounds FSU. He's a busy guy. He owns, I think, 4 RV camping grounds. He doesn't just sit on Facebook all day and like we do, right? Or like we're commenting on this. That's not him. But I've known him for quite a few years, and I really do like him. So I like him even more now. Mr. Kappelman, any response? No rejection. Mr. Jackson will be excused, but he is Dr. Jackson. You can go ahead and tell him he is free to return to the jury assembly area. All right. At this point, we'll go back out, put everyone on lunch break. I'll remind them once again, do not look at any media coverage concerning this. And I think we're under a next group. So I'm going to stop here and answer your remaining questions. Thank you, Giovanni, because I'm reading to myself. And I think some of this is absolutely hilarious because it's really just like guilty, 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 diarrhea, guilty, 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 Facebook. Because he got paid $1 million, so it's per the word, is all I could think of. Why is he castorizing this juror? Like either saying yes or no and be done with it. I think it's because he gets paid by the word. Everyone wants to look important, and this was his time to shine. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Miss Wee. I know one thing. Wendy is in Charlie's head 24/7. Same goes for Donna. Yeah, I think so too. Thank you so much, Patty. You're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you. Then please hit like. I rarely asked for that, but I think I should start reminding myself to remind you to hit like. That would be great. I didn't think it would be as interesting as it turning out to be. So I've been watching for this. God, this has been going on, waiting for this transcript since the trial. There's been extension. So I've been very excited about this. Patty, you sure make note of some questions you want me to ask after I sit for Donna's jury duty. Yeah, because I can only go, I think, on that first day, Sonny. I think I'm only good. I'm good for the first day, and then I have to leave for Kentucky. Is he the guy that files a bunch of lawsuits? No, but he's the guy that gets a lot of lawsuits filed by. You mean well, it depends. He filed several lawsuits with Scott Maddox and JT Burnett, but he owns Jackson Properties. That's what he owns. He was not in Scrubs because he's not a MMD. He's a professor. He often wears like a tweed jacket. I think he's a PhD of social work. I've never had a chance to hear how the questioning goes, so this is great to listen to. Didn't realize these things were set free to the public. It is being set free specifically because of his appeal. So that is how I read it. So that's one reason. Because of Charlie's appeal to the state. So far, I don't see how that's happening, but this is entertaining. But I am going to sign off. Oh, you did baking? Well, look at you. Well, I'm going to go see the husband. But thank you all. And Linda, if you're watching, so I got sent a little package from Canada. Very cool. And I learned how to say Sault Ste. Marie now. So she sent me these Portuguese chips, which ain't gonna lie, they're freaking delicious. I mean, delicious. And then I got some maple syrup. So thank you. This is very cool. Very cool indeed. I really do appreciate it. I'm very grateful that it wasn't another glitter bomb, but that was funny. And everyone is laughing with me on that. So take care. I'm going to do more tomorrow. I'm only on page 156. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. And just have a great evening. Enjoy your Sunday. Take care. Bye.